Hello, everybody. We are back with some more Legally Cute. I'm back. Yay. The show is back. I love this episode. This episode is going to be an amazing episode. I am super, super excited for it. We have the developer, Mr. Morris Games, going to speedrun his own game eventually towards the end of the show. But in the beginning, we're going to be having an interview, Ask Me Anything kind of segment. So let's get those questions going on in chat. All you GD cuties of mine, I would love to see any questions that you would love to ask the developer. And we are going to be showcasing the game, the development of the game. So we'll take it away to go over to Mr. Morris, but we also have with us Covert Muffin, who's going to be helping us ask the questions, as well as we'll be performing later on as well. So whenever we're ready, I am happy to get Mr. Morris going. And Covert, say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. It's 5 a.m. here.
It's really where you are located. Are you ready to show off your game? I would love to see more of the game and everything like that. I think this is going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I think I should just leave it running and we can just play around a bit.
Okay, awesome. So I do have a lot of questions for you. Essentially, my first question would be, and if you want to just showcase anything off in the background with your game, show like your, spots you want to go to. But the first question I did have for you, and I might know the answer to this, but I want everyone else to find out, how long did it take to create the game?
So it took roughly... It's kind of difficult to say, mainly because when I started game development, it was definitely very much started as a hobby. Like I didn't plan to actually make a game this big, but it started off as a hobby. So it's kind of difficult because I was learning and doing a bunch of other smaller projects and stuff like that. So can't give you an exact date, but I started game development in 2019, I think.
Okay, so 2019.
I would say longest 3 years and probably shortest 2 years, so somewhere in between that.
Ooh, okay. So this was a hobby?
Yeah, what?
This is a hobby? That's what I took away from that. That's amazing. I'm glad that you further pursued it because you made it an excellent game, in my opinion. Haiku the Robot is a wonderful game about this little robot, and it's adorable and cute. So, Covert, did you want to ask the next one?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of game development itself, you mentioned that this started off as a hobby. Did you bring on anybody else in the development process, or did you end up developing the entirety of the game yourself?
So I brought on somebody to help with music, the audio side of things, but that's about it. Halfway through, I had an intern, but it wasn't something that I kind of sought out, but the opportunity presented itself. It was a friend of my brother's who he had high regards for, so I was like, sure. And he helped design the map system, so he did his whole final thesis on Metroidvania maps and all of this stuff. And I think he got a pretty good score, not to boast or anything, but he got a pretty good score for his final thesis. It was 90 something, 96 or something like that, 97. It was pretty high.
Good for him.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job as well. I love reading through it. All the research that was done for it, and then the decision making behind it, between ourselves, how to approach the map and stuff like that was all included into his thesis. So it's a really, really fun read to go back and read it all.
So apart from that,
it was just basically me just doing all the art, programming and stuff like that.
Okay, so you did all the art and you did all the programming.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Wow.
That's honestly very, very impressive because that's a lot of work. I have to say, so you went with pixel art then. What kind of got you into going with the route of pixel? And like, I know when you're like developing a game, like art is a very, very important component to it. So how did that like determine your design of the game when you were going with pixel art?
So like I said, it started off as a hobby, right? So I've kind of been interested in pixel art, and I think I did pixel art once, like in 2014 or something. Like I just played Fez, or whatever year Fez released. Like I loved that game, and I was like, I literally just copied it. Like just sat down with MSS Paint open or something and copied it. The pixel art sprites like one for one. But since then I didn't really touch it. But I picked it back up again when I started game development. When I picked it up as a hobby, and I just thought pixel art's like kind of nice and easy sort of thing. I mean, some people will kill me for saying that. Like this sort of style of pixel art is like nice and simple, I think. And when it came to actually making like the entire game, then I was thinking pixel art can just be a sort of streamlined art process, really, because I can show you like the entire palette. But these colors are like the entire palette. So this just helps me like speed up process. So I don't really have these troubles where I'm like, oh, I need to decide what color this green is going to be. I just go through like all four and then just hope that one of them looks good. Wait, where am I going?
That's actually really cool to watch, though. Seeing the program and how it's being used, and then seeing how like
if I put this, it's like, oh my god, this stands out too much. But this, I was actually between this color and this one, and I have no idea why I used a dark one, but still. Looking back now, this one looks bad. So maybe in a future update, I'll update it. But yeah, basically just cycle through the colors that you already have, because you know that you just have to make it work with these colors. So sometimes like that sort of limitation just really helps the productivity, actually, you know, because you have no other option. You just have to kind of make it work with this. And if it doesn't work with that, then you scrap it and move on. You try something else.
Yeah, and sort of like going off of that, right? Like sort of the efficiency of the entire process of development and stuff. Because I mean, this was like a multi-year project for you. So were there things that you had to end up omitting during development due to the like overall design of the game? Like, I mean, here with the colors, right? That was an obvious.
Right? We were just discussing this before.
Yeah, this is a perfect segue for this. Yeah, go on. I am fascinated by this. This is so cool.
Yeah, so I was just discussing briefly on the call before that. The game has like this whole chip system, right? Where similar to like Hollow Knight or Super Paper Mario, you can add chips. Right now I don't have any, but you get the idea. And I had originally planned for this sort of master chip one. I don't know if you want to call it like master chip. I'm just going off of Zelda's Master Sword here, but some sort of more powerful central chip that looks obviously visually different to everything else. And yeah, I had to scrap it because I didn't really know what to add.
Interesting.
But you can still see it on the screen here in the game.
That's so cool.
So people just don't even know it's there.
Yeah, and like the 3 different color chip slots as well, like there's a lot of significance between them and sort of how you customize the character as you get deeper and deeper into the game, and the more you explore, the more you're rewarded for that. And I love that about this game. It like stays true to that Metroidvania, right? And so is like Metroidvania something that you just had in mind as like a project you wanted to do a deep dive on, or was it inspiration from your friend, or did you have just sort of an inkling of loving the Metroidvania genre in general?
I think it was mainly like what can I do with the with my abilities that I know that I have. So like my experience with game dev was obviously like limited, and making a full game is also limited and stuff like this. So I was really conscious of what can I do? You know, like what's in my power that I could actually realistically do. So I didn't want to start off too hard with like some, you know, simulation management strategy game, which just sounds like, you know, a nightmare to make. I wanted something fairly simple and something that's within my skill set. So I felt Metroidvania was like more about world building and level design and stuff like that, which I felt like I had a better chance at doing versus, you know, like a strategy management simulation game or something similar, you know? So Metroidvania basically just came because I felt like it was going to be the easiest for me to make. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like I'd like the Metroidvania genre as well, so that's basically the main reason. It's just stay in your lane type of thing, you know?
Sure, yeah, totally. It's completely reasonable. I mean, an excellent platformer. I just really enjoyed a lot of the mechanics, especially as a speedrunner of this game. Very cool.
Now, for me, okay, so when you launched the game, I bet that was a very, very like memorable moment. What was it like when you launched the game? Because I know that, you know, you had the Kickstarter, then you had like, you know, everything else before the launch, you know, but then once it launched, I know it like it changed a lot. So what was it like when you went through that?
You mean launching it when?
Or releasing the game. There you go, releasing the game. Because I know there was a lot of work.
I still don't know how to describe it exactly. It's weird. It's like I don't know. You put like because it's never truly finished, right? Like that's the other sort of thing. It's never really like you never feel like it's finished. So just having to cut the line or draw the line somewhere is hard, I think, especially for like first-time developers. I think it's quite hard. And to be honest, I launched the game, and then I think I had a weekend of like fixes, which is fine. I was totally prepared for that. But then I just collapsed. Like I think my body just gave in and was just like. I got super ill, and I didn't. It wasn't like from COVID or anything because we didn't go out. So I have no idea. I just caught the flu, got ill. My body just kind of gave up on me and just said, "All right, enough sort of stress. It's time to relax and just rest for a bit." So I was just ill for like a week or two, which was interesting. But I think it just came with like all the sort of stress of just, you know, unknown what's going to happen when you press that launch button. But luckily it went well.
No, I thought it went extremely well. It was
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
on Steam itself, right? Like over 90% positive reviews. Like it's not just us here who think it went well. It's like the absolute grand majority of gamers on the net as well. It's just so cool to see a game that I enjoy as a player see go really well. But after like meeting with you these past number of weeks and talking about the game especially, it's just I'm just so glad to see that pay off. Great.
Yeah, me too, because I think for indie developers it is actually quite hard, especially if it's your first game and stuff. Like I remember reaching out to press and stuff, and they just ignore you. It's quite hard, but I think luckily when I launched, there was some like quite key people that retweeted my game. I don't know if you know Matthew Griffin for like the kind of marketing strategist for Hollow Knight and Stardew Valley and all these sort of games.
Oh wow!
He retweeted like the game. He's always been retweeting some of my stuff, which I am truly grateful for. But I think, you know, kind of having those people retweet stuff like that on Twitter really just puts you in front of, good people, like good press.
Yeah, and like kind of going off of that, right? Like there was a pretty decently sized showcase at PAX West recently, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, can you tell me more about that? I definitely want to hear more.
So, PAX does this thing where I think it's 10 developers, that you can apply for it, and I think it costs like $50 entry fee or something like that. And they will basically pick 10 games where they will showcase at PAX. So they'll put like 10 booths together, so they'll pay for the booth, pay for your PAX ticket and all that sort of stuff, all for you. The only thing you need to do is just buy the sort of flights and accommodation. I mean, flights for me, I don't know. If you live close by, then I guess you wouldn't need flights, but flights for me, unfortunately. And 10 hours, that was my first 10-hour trip as well, which
Wow,
is pretty rough. I don't know if I fully enjoy being on a plane for 10 hours, but the experience was amazing, to be honest. I got to see Cutie Roo as well, which was cool. I got to see a bunch of other speedrunners, and it was really surreal to kind of have people come to you and just be like, oh, Haiku the Robot, and just be like, yeah, I've played this game. And you're like, what? You played my game? Like, why? Like, I mean, it's super cool, right? Like, you kind of get to put a face to the people that you just see online, because over here in Europe, there's not many, well, there are big events, but I just haven't been to many. And for people all the way across the other side of the world to be like, oh, I played your game, it's just a fantastic experience, to be honest. But yeah, so that was sponsored by McDonald's. I didn't know, but that was sponsored by McDonald's. So McDonald's paid for I'm assuming, all of our booths and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, I remember when we were meeting for the first time, and I just kind of want to share this story because it was kind of interesting, because everyone here at GDQ, we know Emre and Kizaron. Kizaron is another Hotfix showrunner as well for the first step. So it was funny because I didn't realize, like, it wasn't planned at all. Like, we known each other and we're friends. It's just we didn't even like plan on being at the same convention. And then eventually I saw on Twitter, I was like, oh wait, they're going too. And then the small world moment of like, and meeting, like, okay, so meeting Mr. Morris at the booth, well, at the Rising Showcase, it was really cool, but it was funny because meeting him for the first time, I totally mistaken him for someone else, and I hugged. I hugged. Basically, it's someone else in his life, but basically, I hugged this person that looked like him, and they looked at me like, "What the heck are you doing?" Wait, what? Because that was the other thing, to give some context. Everybody was wearing masks, so having the mask on, this person looking similar to Mr. Morris himself. So I'm hugging a complete stranger, but I mean, like, it was just such an awkward moment. Definitely one way to make an impression, but yeah. So I remember though, like, another time. Both Emery and Kizaron were there, and we're talking to him, and then that's when I actually met him, and then I give him a hug and give them a hug, of course, and go like that. But it was just such that is definitely an embarrassing story to tell, but hey, it was a great memorable moment.
Yeah, I mean,
that is fantastic.
It was my little brother, right? So,
Yes.
Yeah, like we look very similar. It's just I have a beard and he doesn't. That's basically the main difference.
Yeah. So like hugging your brother for the first time was so interesting. But yeah. But honestly, it was a ton of fun to experience the game at PAX, as well as just like seeing, all the interests that were like, in this Rising Showcase and everything like that. And so it was just a very, very like memorable time. But I definitely thought it was so cool that you were even like highlighted on the websites and everything like that.
Oh, these sound effects are loud. Sorry.
Oh, car battery. This is totally a boss we'll see in the speedrun.
I did actually want to ask you, kind of segue into the next question. So when you were kind of going off on the internet, right? Now you have a Wikipedia. Now you are on like game review sites and everything like that. What do you think when you see your game on the internet and see the positive response that you got?
I think every developer will suffer like imposter syndrome from it, because I don't know, you just feel like it's very strange. It's like I just made the game, which, you know, pulls inspiration from this other game, so like why do I deserve any sort of recognition or anything like that? It's weird. But it's that, like, aside, it does feel really, really cool. Like I kind of have a hard time believing it still. Like when I go on to Steam or any review site and see that people like my game. Like recently it was in some sort of magazine for the Nintendo, and like just reading reviews from people is super cool. So I ordered myself I think I ordered 2 copies for myself. One that I hope to preserve in the plastic packaging forever, and then one for like reading leisurely.
Aw.
Cool.
But
yeah, I mean,
it's difficult to kind of not let that imposter syndrome get in the way, sort of thing, and try to enjoy the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, speaking of enjoyment, did you have like a favorite part of the development process in Haiku, the robot itself, or was it just sort of the overall project was a labor of love?
Yeah, there wasn't, like, you hear like people kind of struggle with some aspects of their game. They're like, oh, this part's like a really big slog, and this part was the most like horrendous part, and God knows what else. But I don't think I had too much of that. The only part that comes to mind that was horrendous was like porting to the Switch, just because as a newbie game dev, I was kind of a little bit lost. So it took a lot of like trial and error to get things right. But apart from that, I don't think any of it was difficult. I pretty much liked all of it. I think my favorite part though was
it's so hard, right? It's like you spend so much energy and like not just time, right? But like energy, thought, and like emotions and like all that stuff in order to be able to like push out.
I like the bosses. Bosses are pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, they are.
And fun to design always. The NPCs were great. I really liked, actually, because a lot of the NPCs are from Kickstarter backers, right? There was like a tier where you could make your NPC. And funnily enough, that tier actually sold out first, like amongst the bigger tiers. So more people wanted to make NPCs than bosses by the looks of it, which is cool because some of the NPCs are really, really, really cute, and I would have never been able to put something like that together myself. So the sort of variety that came with letting people create their own NPCs, I think, was really good. For example, like Splunk, the little toaster, is like a fan favorite, and that was made by someone else, not me, which is
That's so
kind
cool.
of, yeah, it's super nice, I think, to have that sort of stuff in the game, because it is like the community helped me build it by raising funds for a Kickstarter, so I could like work on it for 1.5 years full time. So it's nice to see that, you know, the kind of people's favorite characters and these little things that the community have added like funnel back towards them, and like they become fan favorites and stuff like this. So yeah, the NPCs were really fun to make with people. I think like having that sort of the expression like two heads are better than one sort of thing. So having that sort of external person to like give you pointers and give you direction instead of it always coming from within you, I think it helps me, because at some point you get tired of just coming up with all the ideas for everything, and you kind of run out of ideas at some point. So to have that sort of external boost is really, really good. So yeah, I would say maybe my favorite part was making NPCs. I think that's quite a fun task.
Well, I kind of want to open up the floor. If anybody has any Ask Me Anything questions for the developer while we're here, all the Judy Cuties in chat, be happy to just ask, and then I'll ask away. While we're waiting, I do want to ask this one question because I just need to know. Do you have any future projects in the works, or do you have any future plans?
I do, but nothing concrete.
Okay.
I'm just kind of, at the moment, I'm not doing much. I'm just kind of like seeing how far this goes, and then I'll make a choice on what I do next. I really would like to make like a second Metroidvania with another character. I think Rusty is a cool character, just because he travels around this world, and he makes like little trinkets that he gives to the player, which are basically just map markers. And I think that's like pretty cool. And this sort of like him traveling around with his little backpack and walking stick is just very appealing to me. But Rusty doesn't seem to be like the combatant type, so I don't know. Like if he starts like smacking up robots, I think doesn't suit his personality, but we'll see. Let's get this one.
So, okay, I have seen this question from chat. Have you added fishing yet?
Look, talking of Rusty, here he is. No, I haven't added fishing. I haven't added fishing. I was tempted, but then, there's supposed to be no life left in this game. So I added like little fishy robots instead.
I just imagine fishing like, I don't know. I could get morbid pretty quick. All right, so I'll ask the next question in the meantime because that could go to places. Okay, so this was mentioned earlier too. Is there any way we could read the intern's thesis? It was regarding the music. I would pay to learn from anyone who helped make this gem. So is that something that's available? I don't. I think that's an interesting thing. Yeah, that's a great question because that's a very
sometimes these theses are like private, like that. Sometimes they're public and sometimes they're private for like the university. So
yeah, it depends on the university.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, but I can ask. Like I definitely read it just because he wanted my feedback, but it's really good. Like I'm not trying to oversell it. It's like literally really good. So if I can get it somehow, I don't know how I will get it to the person who's asking, but I'll try to put it out there at least.
Well, that's a great question, because if you go to speedrun.com/haiku, all in lowercase, there's a convenient Discord link, the little Discord icon that will just bring you directly to the game's Discord itself. So this is both for just Mr. Morris's Discord in terms of Haiku the Robot, as well as the speedrun community itself. So that's probably the place to share it if there was one.
Yes. And in the pin too, I did provide the speedrun link. So if anyone wants to check out the speedrun, you can find it there. As well as I know that like the Discord's a very, very, very great place. So that's a great way to like kind of, interact with Mr. Morris there, because you're very, very interactive. So
this rope
I did have
funky. This is one of those bugs that I just didn't know how to fix. So it's just It's just in the game. Look at it. Whee!
You're like, I'm just gonna leave it. Why not?
So many people like comment me and say, I found a bug. This rope goes like crazy when you enter this room. I'm just like, yep, I know.
Well, if it's dev intended, is it a bug anymore?
Ooh, that's a great question.
It's a
That is a
feature,
great
yeah.
question. Yeah, it's a new feature. It's the best feature. I did have another question from chat. Could you ask about the process of making this game being available on Switch was like? That's a great question.
So it's not that bad. Like, I recently went on a little bit of a rant about the Switch eShop, but that's like the only bad thing about Nintendo, to be honest. They're quite responsive. Like the dev kit, I mean, you can apply for a developer license quite easily. Then that way you can get like the dev kits and stuff like that. They have really good documentation on their site and good forums and stuff like that. Like all of that's under NDA, so I can't talk about too much of it, but they exist. And I mean, I had positive experiences from working with Nintendo and their system. The only difficult part for me was that everything's so new. So some of the development concepts I was still like getting my head around, which, you know, then involved the Nintendo Switch system. Like they have different sort of, I don't know, like dev environment sort of thing. So, you know, just getting used to stuff like that was a bit difficult. But apart from that, quite easy. And I think the developer community on Twitter and just everywhere else, I think I asked a person on Discord, they were like super helpful. They were just like, oh, just look at this example and pretty much just try and retrofit it, your game to this example. That's how most people do it. And that's what I did. So fairly straightforward, but I'm not going to say that it was like, oh, you just press a button, you know? You still have to do some work.
Yeah. Well, I did have more questions. So we did have the question of, I love the creators. Are they all twins or would they have separate ages?
I don't want to say. That's like up to you. And like,
Love it.
I showed you something, didn't I, before this stream? So
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
secret stuff.
That's I have secret information. All right, well, then I will go to this question because I think this is a wonderful one. Was there a skip or a tech found for the speedrun that changes how the game is played, and would it feel to discover that?
Is that more towards me or?
Honestly, go ahead.
I mean, like, I've had demos out in the past, so a lot of the kind of speedrun, like the speedrun community has ran the demos in the past. So
really?
they already found stuff, and I tried my best to just keep stuff like that in. So
Yeah.
I think the most popular one is this, when you get the morph ball, which is, oh, what's this at me? That's not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be secret. Anyway,
I saw nothing. Don't worry about
I
it.
saw nothing. What are you talking about?
do you have one of them Men in Black things, them little memory eraser things? Get it out. Get it out. Oh my god, this room is crazy. Anyway,
yes.
so going back to, what was the question again? I forgot.
Like, how does it feel when somebody discovers a form of speed
Yeah.
tech, and you work to try and keep that in while maintaining a good casual experience?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I try to keep it in. One popular one is like going across the surface, right?
Right.
To get to like a sort of more difficult area. I think the bunker's more difficult area, just because of some of the enemies, especially that laser one. You can get there early, and I would try always to make these sort of sequence breaks or skips possible, so you don't get like stuck. And yeah, I just try to just try to leave them in and just make sure that the player doesn't get stuck. That's the main part. But there's one where it's like if you bounce and if you roll, bounce, because the roll has like some bouncing physics on it, then you would get like slightly more height. And I thought like this was super cool. And that's how people were getting to the surface, like first time round. They were just rolling, bouncing. I can't think of other ones off the top of my head that I discovered.
Do you want me to share a quick story?
Yeah, go for it.
So day one, I was playing this game when it released on Steam. I wasn't part of the sort of like testing branch before the game was released, but me and a friend, Spring Sylvie in particular, really dived in pretty hard and discovered a lot of tech pretty quickly. So one I discovered, I actually reported as a bug. And so I found out if you hit a wall with a sword and then immediately start cranking a heel, it would soft lock, you would lock your character in place and you wouldn't be able to get out of that unless you do some really weird niche things. Yeah, there we go. It's showing it right now. However, what Mr. Morris did is if you just let go of the heal button, you now can get out of that state. So he ended up just patching the speed tech and allowing it to stay in. And we actually do this in like a number of places in like optimal routing and stuff like that.
Does not work on doors.
No, it does. It does. Yeah, you're just too far to the right. Yeah, there you go. And it's a little bit, just a tiny bit faster than walking. So that was just a really cool thing that Mr. Morris did. Like he didn't need to do that. He could have just removed that lock state altogether. But instead, he just sort of fixed the bug of the lock, allowing us to be able to apply it when we're doing the initial routing, especially.
I feel like I'm spoiling the run here. Let's just.
I'm loving this. No, it's great to talk about the game.
Well, I will
give myself the roll ability and carry on somewhere else.
I will ask that this will be the last question, and then after this, we will be having Covert Muffin showcasing the learning of the speedrun and the techs and the tips and tricks. I could talk, and so I just wanted to ask this one because it's actually a question. Where before, like, how, okay, so when it came to speedrunning, and since you're very comfy with the speedrunners and everything like that, did you know about it before you were making the game, or once you found out, like, what did you think about speedrunning? Do you love speedrunning? Anything regarding those questions?
I've never done speedrunning myself, but I do have a fascination for it, like, just seeing people speedrun games is quite impressive, especially like these difficult ones, like getting over it with Benny Foddy and stuff like this is just like mind-boggling to watch. Like I think I've watched like some Cuphead speedruns as well where they're like killing something off screen or some crazy stuff happening there, and then it just doesn't even trigger like a few phases, it just skips phases. And you know, it's a fascinating sort of sport to watch, right? So I knew it existed, I just never kind of got myself involved, let's say.
Ah, well then. Yeah, I'm glad that you are. It's been...
Me too.
And if I'm going to speedrun any game, it's going to be the one that I just spent the last, 3 years making, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
Might as well.
I think you really love I think you really love the game, right? Like you love this game so much. Because I know for me, when I'm speedrunning, I have to love the game. I'm spending a lot of time in it, so definitely it's an investment in a relationship. Alrighty, well, I am actually going to have us take a little bit of a break so that Covert can showcase the tips, tricks, and tech. I could talk. The 3 T's on how to speedrun Haiku the Robot. Just stay tuned. We'll be back with some Legally Q on GDQ Hotfix. Hello, everybody. This is Rue. I am back with some more Legally Cute. I am going to be so excited. We are going to be showing off some tips, tricks, and tech, But beforehand, I just want to do a few reminders just because of what's going to be coming up. Frost Patel's 2023 prize submissions are open now until February 20th. If you go to thegamesdonequick.com, you can see all the information there. And if you want, you can use the command prizes in chat to see more further information. Also, unapologetically, Black and Fast is coming up tomorrow, actually. It's going to be this whole entire weekend. So I would definitely want to be there. We're going to celebrate the excellence and speedrunning throughout the whole month. If you want to use the command UBAF in Twitch chat, as well as you could see the schedule. And if you link the image below you would like to plug in any games you may be excited for, you could say, there's X game on the Saturday, BY. Be sure to tune in for that, or something similar. But either way, tune in. It would be a ton of fun. Also, lastly, but not leastly, that made total sense. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, you can always check us out on Twitch. And if you're interested in looking for the live content, we are always starting at 7 p.m. Eastern and the weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. Alrighty, I am so excited to have Covert showcase Haiku the robot. Take it away.
Hello, I am Covert Muffin. If you are just joining us at this part of the video, this is going to be a really quick, expedited beginner's tutorial where I'm going to be going through just sort of a beginner's route that I think is really solid, and then explaining all of the tech, all of the mechanics and stuff like that in painstaking detail as fast as I can. And then after this segment, we are going to be joined by the developer of this game himself, Mr. Morris, who is also currently in the call with us. Hello, Mr. Morris.
Hello.
Woo! Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into it. I'm just going to be starting from a fresh save file, but that being said, there's a few things I need to point out. So right up here, you're going to notice some extra lines of text that you're not used to seeing. And this is major shout outs to one runner in particular, Jarlik, I believe, who did the primary development of this tool for speedrunners that we homebrewed ourselves within the community. And this basically are a set of dev tools that allow me to basically set save states as well as give myself temporary invulnerability, turn off the heat mechanics so that I can just use heat infinitely and stuff like that, as well as a few other really cool aspects. And this is just a really amazing practice tool. If you would like to utilize this, I suggest heading to speedrun.com/haiku/resources. And you will see it as Haiku Scarab. And that is pretty much, I believe, if this is correct, it's the same sort of tooling software that we use in the Hollow Knight speedrun community as well. So major shout out to you, Jarlik. Thank you so much for all the work with this. And then besides this, also down below in this corner, you will notice that I am actually not running on current patch. I'm running on version 1.0.265. And this is major shout out to you, Mr. Morris, for adding this in, where I was just able to backpatch my game incredibly easily to this patch because it is a stable patch as well as being the fastest patch for the speedrun itself. And Mr. Morris didn't need to do this, but you just did this because we asked. And
in my eyes, it's not stable.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
The heat refreshing is not stable.
It is not. Yeah, that's okay, though.
That's
okay.
the only unstable part, though, to be honest.
Sure, word. But basically on current patch, the reason why I'm backpatching is because on current patch, there's a single boss fight, which has a lot more RNG and difficulty associated with it. And so literally using this backpatch allows us to be able to grind out runs more consistently. Cool. All right, but let's go ahead and dive in. I don't know if the timer started yet, but I'm just going to start a game and we're going to get into it. So first, you're going to notice something weird. The stand-up animation is a lot faster here, and this is because of the debug tool. This is not in the normal base speedrun of the game, right? So you're not allowed to use the debug mode for the speedrun itself. But I can do something like this. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner of the game screen, boom, saved to quick slot. And so this gives me a quick save, quick load feature, right? So if I just press a button, then it will actually end up quick loading me back to the spot. Okay, but right out of the gate, we're going to be doing something known as sort of an intentional death or a death warp, if you will, because the way the game does its save system, Oh, nope, I broke something because of the dev tools. I have actually never seen that happen before, so we'll just start a new save file. So basically, in order to progress towards the first save checkpoint, which is how you would save in this game normally, we would need to end up defeating this first enemy and then walking some distance. However, if we just end up taking a death to the enemy, then we can end up bypassing this fight as well as some travel distance itself inherently. Then immediately we're going to be heading over to the first bit of progression that we're going to need, which is going to be the rusted key. And so here, a really important piece of tech that was something I discovered on the first day that I actually played this game, because I was just mashing buttons and playing around with it, is that if you land, right, so if you watch my jump height, right, it's about like just as high to be able to land on this ledge, right? Just underneath that, right? Just underneath that. However, if I jump a second time, immediately after landing the button, so I land and tap, right? Tap holds the jump button. It allows me to get some additional height, right? And so over here, this is the classic Metroidvania design where it's like, there's the thing you want, right? It's a nice little shiny icon, but you have to end up spending like a minute and a half, like going in a circle in order to get to it. But with a single buffered landing jump, then I'm able to get up here. There was also a tech that was slightly discovered earlier, which is a slide jump. Because this game makes use of something known as coyote frames. So coyote frames is when you walk off a ledge, you can actually still jump off the ledge, right? See how that I'm like jumping in midair? And so this is a very common thing as sort of an approachability as well as accessibility feature that is in a lot of modern day Metroidvanias. But here we go. We press the up key in order to collect the rusted key. And then we will progress on.
Or down key.
Yeah, or down key. Yes, that is true. But here the adjustable wrench is actually one of the few skills we don't need for the speedrun. But it does save a little bit of time, I believe, over collecting it, and it allows us to heal during the run. So if you don't want to heal during the run, you could skip this as a fun challenge, but for the speedrun, it's kind of silly to skip it. Yeah. But here is a heal slide, okay? And so we're going to be doing this all over the place, especially in the mid-game, where if I tack a wall and then hold the heal button immediately, it will actually like sort of maintain that acceleration from the backtracking of whacking it, okay? Then here, with the rusted key, we're able to progress in Metroidvania style to the next area, towards our first skill. So if you're unfamiliar with Metroidvanias, or I guess first here to explain this, so in the top left is the heat gauge. So the heat gauge basically allows me to use certain abilities. And then after I get overheated, it makes the whirring noise, the and then you'll notice that it has a blinking red light in the top left corner. So I cannot dash during this, but blink, and then boom, I can now start dashing again, okay? So really, the heat gauge is going to be important. But as you notice, I was overheated there. But after I transitioned into this next area, it actually fully refilled my heat gauge. And so there are multiple zones like this all over the map. So here, I'm just going to bleed out all of my heat for dashes to move through faster. And then boom, it gets refreshed. Then moving through this next screen at a specific pace allows me to get under that enemy. And we will progress towards the first boss. So here's a buffered landing jump you can do. But this one is very difficult, requires you to get a max range one, right? So the two things about buffered landing jumps that allow you to optimize them is first, you want to press jump the frame you hit the ground, right? So the initial moment that you hit the ground. Then you want to place the second jump as late as possible. And you just have to sort of get comfy with the range. It isn't, I don't know the exact frame count. I think Spring Sylvia's counted it out, but you'll just sort of see the distance between the puffs of smokes from the jump itself. But here, I'm going to quick save, and then we will go ahead and get into the first boss. So here, for combat itself, we're going to be using all up slashes and with some down slashes as well. So I have to jump over the boss, I'm going to be down slashing. But the rest of them really should be up slashes. And the reason for that is we have one other direction. We have a horizontal slash that we can do. However, the horizontal slash itself is a little bit slower than the up and down slashes. Okay. Oh, all right. So I have weird things going on. I think I was just slow on the first phase. So the boss actually didn't end up doing a pattern. Oh no, here it goes, here it goes. Okay, so there it's gonna summon a bunch of black pillars, and then we're done with the fight. So those black pillars can end up forming a little bit earlier in the fight. You just kind of try and bait the boss into the middle by walking really far right, and then you can continue to up-slash it continuously without taking damage. But there we did a good job. We didn't take any damage coming to this boss, so I ended up tanking some damage. But there, in the top right corner of the screen, as you can see here, in the top right corner, is going to be my scrap. And so the scrap there is going to be sort of our resource for healing, as well as progressing with the run itself. But now that we have finished defeating that boss, we are going to be collecting our first skill, which is going to be the magnet. And the magnet is going to be your tried and true wall jump. So now I can end up jumping off of walls. And this may seem not too terribly significant, but it is significant for a sake of a Metroidvania, right? So before I could only land on flat surfaces, but now if I have a wall that I can climb up, I can end up being able to get through certain areas. And this was actually a massive piece of tech for a lot of sequence breaks when we initially started playing the game. But here, this is actually a really great spot to show the power of a buffered landing jump, right? You'll notice that my jump height is just barely not high enough, right? So I could end up coming up to this wall and jumping once off, but that sends me a little bit to the left. So instead, I can dash and miss my buffered landing jump. There we go. And then I don't have to travel to the left at all, saving a split second, right, in that one section. Then here, so as a beginner, I don't suggest going for this, but there is a 2-jump chain just like this to be able to climb up this left wall, but it is incredibly precise. So instead, what I always tell newer runners to do is come over here like this, and then you can come up here just like that. So you can see just how little of a distance it makes, but this jump here is just really, really tight. So if I'm just barely too low, oh no, if I'm too high, I bonk on the ceiling and I don't make it. Like even that was like a little
I have
too
never
high.
seen that before, Colbert.
Surprise!
Surprise!
I think I've tried to do that multiple times. Never did it. I just like, nah, it's not possible.
Yeah, so in this next screen, we have a few things to explain, and I am going to explain them just because they come up later in the run, especially for the first major sequence break. So the first thing is when I run into an enemy and then dash, you'll notice that I dashed way further.
Yeah, you did.
The other thing is that when you take damage from a hazard, you're actually invulnerable to enemies for a specific amount of time.
Oh, interesting.
And this is actually very, very important for the speedrun itself. And this is going to come up in a sequence break. And this travels through deaths, right? So if you take a death and load a new screen, you still have that state that ends up being saved. And so we're going to use this like 2 to 3 times in the run itself to great benefit. All right, cool. So now that we have wall jump, we are going to head to the right, okay, in order to continue through. But here is a really cool spot to do a heel slide because it's a nice long passage. And now I'm just going to hold up, and I can collect Infinity Edge as I just continue to heel slide. Here's another spot where a buffered landing jump does save a bit of time. It allows me to skip having to land on that pillar. And then we can continue to progress through. All right, so coming through here, the reason why I end up picking, so here, walking under this platform ends up like reducing the RNG of these enemies here that they will get in my way as I'm wall jumping up there. I have no idea why, but just going under that platform, I think maybe it's just like sort of a distance vector thing that allows me to get past, past them.
Hey, I'm gonna ask the developer. Hey, so what happens when you go underneath it?
I don't know. My brain's ticking right now. I'm like, what is it that happens? I'm just trying to think what enemies there are. I think there's only one that detects the player position. So
interesting. Okay.
It could just be because coming from below is just easier. Like there's less chance that they're just going to be in your way versus doing a diagonal jump from the other platform to the wall. Like
totally.
Just mathematically, statistically, something or other. It's just better.
Yeah. But here is going to be our second save station. We're going to be coming back to this one a lot. And this is where like Haiku can be a little bit scary as a speed game. So for newer runners especially, right, I always suggest get all the scrap from the first boss. Okay, that is something that I always suggest doing. And then there's going to be some extra safety nodes of scrap that we're going to be picking up. Because deaths in the speedrun can be incredibly punishing. Like we're talking multiple minutes of time loss from taking an unintentional death. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to save, which fully refills our health and energy, and then we're going to equip Infinity Edge. And so for me, my hotkeys, the way they're set up is I press left control, left, Z, X to get through, right? So you can just go through the menuing very fast if you just plan out the inputs and then execute. Right? So it's like, you can think of it as just like a line of code, and then you press the enter key in your brain, and then just spits it out, right? Like, that's exactly what's going on here for me when I do this. But here is going to be, I think, my favorite and the biggest sequence break in this run itself. So there's this one boss whose name is Car Battery, and I'm actually just going to go over to you and show you briefly Car Battery. So over here is going to be the car battery fight. And like, it is very close to the save point, right? But that being said, this boss can be a huge pain because if it goes up to the ceiling, it significantly reduces our damage per second that we can end up dealing to the boss. And that's really everything in these bosses for efficiently getting through. Like, this is really amazing RNG, actually. Yeah, there we go. So this pattern in particular, right? And so it's like very easy to take damage, as you saw all those projectiles flying around. But then also because the boss like is just very high up, it like almost halves our ability to deal damage. And so, oh, whoops, I went really far back than I intended to. That's okay. That gives me more time to talk. So for Car Battery itself, basically what that means is it's like a variance of like 30 something seconds. It's quite a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so there we go. We reset our save point up. We equipped Affinity Edge. And now let's get into Car Battery skip. So remember that hazard, like intangibility that we ended up looking at? It doesn't just apply to enemies' damage hurt boxes. It also actually applies to things like cutscenes, as well as activation of boss zones. And so because the exit to Car Battery is open before you start the fight, if we just end up taking multiple damage from a hazard, then we can end up getting through Car Battery skip. Get through Car Battery without having to fight it. So here I'm going to fall off. Okay, this is going to be a fast variant where I took 1 damage from a non-hazard. So it's going to make the skip a little bit tighter, but it's also going to make it totally fine, no problem. Okay, so here I'm going to do a buffered landing jump to get up this a little bit faster, and then another one right there, and then a heel slide. And if I do this well enough, then I did not activate the boss cutscene. And just to show how tight this was, right, it has only been a few seconds, right? So, like, it is that tight of a skip if you accidentally take 1 damage from a non-hazard, but that's faster for the speedrun, right? Because we end up, like, taking the death a little bit quicker. So here I'm just going to run into Car Battery 4 times because I can't remember if I set a save state. And this will set us back. So I'm going to show a little bit of an easier, non-sort of RNG dependent one, but it's going to be a little bit slower. And I believe it's the one you're going to do, Mr. Morris.
Yep.
Okay, so here I spend all of my dashes there, and then here we get a refill. So there's my first hit on this hazard, second hit on this hazard, third hit on this hazard, and then fourth hit, and there's the death. And so taking 4 gives us even more time, because every single time you take a damage from a hazard, then that adds and like compounds that interest, right? So without the heel slide, without the buffered landing jump, right, I can just end up getting through the skip incredibly consistently. So like it really is that big of a difference, just ending up taking that 1 additional damage from a hazard, which is very, very cool.
I think the invincibility time is roughly like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. That sounds about right.
If you die like 4 times, like considering that he respawns and stuff like that, then it probably adds up to be like 15 seconds at least.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, totally.
15 15 seconds of just pure invincibility.
Yeah, exactly. And it's useful too, right? We don't just have to use this for like sequences like that, but like going into the hardest section in the game, in my opinion, then like you have that additional invincibility for a little bit and allows you to make one screen really, really easy. But yeah, so here is where we're going to check our amount of scrap, because next we're heading up to Morph Ball in order to get that. But here, these little nodes give you scrap. And so here, it's incredibly important that you check your amount of scrap and make sure it is not a number divisible by 3. And that may sound really weird, that you have to do a little bit of math in a poetry game, but like it is actually incredibly important, because if you take damage and do a heal slide, each time you crank the lever, you spend 3 scrap. And we need at least 1 scrap to be able to unlock a future zone in the game itself. So here, if I was on 9 or something like that, I would just attack these nodes like once, collect some scrap. If I got like 3, 6, 9 scrap from that, then I would just end up attacking it again, hoping to only get 2 or 1. Because the amount of scrap you get from enemies, from scrap piles and stuff like that is based on RNG. Yeah. So here I have 7. Great, that number is not divisible by 3, no matter what Twitch chat says. And so we're able to continue through to the next section. Oh, as I take a damage here, right? Yeah, and so this section can be very spooky in general, especially when you're learning the speedrun, because what I will tell you is we're not actually going to heal up before Morph Ball now, unless we get really, really desperate. And so like here, now that I'm on 2 health, which is going to be very scary, I am going to be cognizant of that and really try and make sure that I don't take too much damage in sections that I don't want to. So maybe that just means like putting off using the dash function in certain sections, right? Because there was a save spot, right? And I could heal here. However, this would be incredibly slow for me to take the save spot, because backtracking now to the previous save spot takes even longer to do, right? So we want to make sure that we utilize that death warps as much as possible, right? Cool. Okay. So here, with my heat, I can just dash there, miss that dash there, and fall, and so now I'm dead. And that's just like a very funny thing about this game, right? And so like if you do that in a run, then yes, you have to do car battery skip over again.
By the way, dividing 7 by 3 is irrational. I'm just gonna make that a thing now. I'm gonna make a haiku out of it. So hold on, I'm gonna have a haiku while you speedrun. About 7 divided by 3.
Good. All right. So yeah, so Pinions Express, which is the area we're in now, has a lot of enemies that are really scary if you are stagnant, right? But if I just continue to move through the area, it really is not too bad to get through. But this hole right here, this is one spot that you want to make sure you never fall when you do a speedrun of this game, right? I'm just going to show this off. This was really cool. I accidentally did this in my casual playthrough. But here, this is actually a boss fight, right? So if you fall down here in a speedrun, I would end up having to like do this fight, right? But thanks to only practicing right now, not actually doing a speedrun, I am allowed to utilize those save states to backtrack and retry certain sections. Cool. Okay, but here, this is the entire reason we need a single scrap is in order to repair this clock, which is going to get some platforms and some elevators moving. Cool. All right.
Have you noticed that them cogs don't move where the boss goes down?
Oh, like, oh yeah, no, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm glad
Yeah,
somebody
absolutely.
noticed.
It is really cool, yeah. I mean, it's hard for me not to like look at all of like the background like things going on in the game, especially. I love that, and like especially in artistically wise and stuff like this. Cool. Yeah, so like here, there's a few different ways of getting up here through this section. Here, this is the fast route of just going off this wall and pogoing off this enemy, which gets us a little bit of additional height when we do a downward attack. And then we can like jump to this platform, wall jump off of there, do a buffered landing jump if you want to be really fancy, or just jump over here and then jump up. Right? So there's like many different ways that you can end up going through and routing and platforming in sections, just sort of like based on what is most comfortable to you. But then here, riding this elevator, we're going to take a secret passage. And then here's another buffered landing jump that I missed, so I didn't get the necessary height to be able to skip one wall jump. But that's
this is like really cool actually, because this is one of those parts that I added on purpose to like make a speed run faster, and to actually see that it's
cool.
used in the game is kind of cool. But
yeah,
I think I found out it's used mainly because of that power cell, right, which you get money for later.
Correct. Yeah. So that power cell, we can end up selling it basically for an extra 100 scrap. There we go. For later on, because we're going to be buying a single upgrade that costs 200. But here in this section, there's a few screens that don't actually end up costing time to heal slide and get a full heal off. And this is one of them. So if I had the 9 scrap to be able to heal, because it takes three cranks to heal, 3 scrap per crank, right? So 9 scrap in total per heal. Then I would do a heal slide. But because I don't have the scrap, then we're just going to continue through. So here, this is something that's really integral for newer runners especially, is if you are on 1 health, slow down, kill an enemy, get some scrap, and just heal back up to 2. Right? This, I cannot express this enough. Like, deaths are the most costly aspect of this speedrun. So just mitigating deaths, mitigating damage is very, very powerful. And here in this section, talking about like killing a certain enemy, killing one of these 3 enemies here will end up causing the rest of the enemies to despawn for the rest of the room, which is cool.
That's a bug. That only happens in that room.
There's a couple rooms where it does happen.
Maybe. But I purposely left this one just for you guys.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great. I mean, especially for beginners, right? Who are also maybe potentially struggling with like making sure they get the slides, right? Because you have iframes while you're in a slide animation, but maybe not potentially after, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of a switch puzzle. We just had to go back and forth, and then we're just going to go ahead and do another heal slide. Get a full heal while we do the slides. And then here, as I miss it entirely, I am going to backtrack for this just to show it. But basically, if you delay your jump for as long as possible, not as long as possible, it's pretty forgiving, on this enemy in particular, then you can end up pogoing off of him and just land on that tiny platform every single time, which I find very cool. And then here for a little bit of safety, if you want, you can end up opening this up and calling the elevator, allowing you to backtrack. But usually we just reset in the speedrun if we end up taking a death there.
Okay, I'm ready for my haiku.
Okay, bring it.
Okay, dividing 7 by 3 by Rue. A 7 by 3 is the best place to be in. Divide, heal, haiku.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So if you're here at the start of this segment, I mentioned that one boss fight in particular was a bit different in this back patch version I'm using instead of the current patch, and this is the boss itself. And so there are 2 primary things that were different. One is the second phase patterns that the boss has on current patch is different, as well as at the top here on the ceiling, there are hazards that were worked into current patch. So right along the ceiling here. But in this version that I'm currently running, the hazards aren't actually load. They're not there. Not only that, but also the ceiling isn't there itself. So here, what I'm going to try and do, now I'm too low, that's okay. If I was high enough, then you can end up pogoing up on the boss and then just go into the ceiling while you continue to pogo. But I didn't quite get that. But if you want to see a runner in particular get that, definitely go and watch this previous GDQ's run of Haiku the Robot done by Quacksilver, who is currently the 2nd place holder in this game itself. That they got an incredible time during. I think they were like a minute and a half off their PB or something like that, which was ridiculous because they had world record at the time. But I believe they did get the pogo strat there. But here we go, we have Morph Ball, and there's going to be a lot of things to talk about with Morph Ball. So we're going to take a minute and do that right now. So the first thing is that when I'm going around in Morph Ball, you're actually going faster than your walking speed, if you can see this, right? It's just very, very slightly faster. So every single time that I'm moving horizontal distance, I want to either be dashing or I want to be in Morph Ball, okay? So the moment you jump, you actually end up exiting Morph Ball, right? And you'll notice that you end up slowing down, right, as you're going through the air. However, if you enter Morph Ball before that deceleration starts to take effect, then you actually are able to maintain Morph Ball speed all throughout that horizontal segment. And so we're going to be using this all over the place. So you'll constantly, like every single time I jump, I'm just ready to reactivate Morph Ball in order to maintain that speed.
Normally you have to wait until you touch the floor to get that speed again. But I think what you're doing is you're just activating it so fast that you're catching the moment where it's like you've already pressed jump, but it still thinks it's on the floor for like a split second. So it actually gives you the speed boost.
Yeah, interesting. So like layman's terms is you stop yourself from decelerating. But really, that's cool to hear that maybe it's just sort of like a state-based thing where the game thinks you're still on the floor. That's fascinating.
It is, because it used to be just in the game that if you were in Morph Ball, you just had that acceleration. But it was a little bit too OP for like, because casual players could do it pretty easily as well. So it was just a tiny bit too OP. But it's cool to see that you guys have still found a way to break it.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's very useful, especially for cycles, like right at the end of the run, as we'll show off after Bunker. But now another thing is that there are these tiny little tunnels all over the map that require Morph Ball. But you can actually enter these tunnels either by like attacking, right? Or by jumping as you enter them. However, the jump is a way more precise, right? So like if you want to do this as like sort of an easier thing as a beginner, what I suggest doing is walking up to the wall, entering Morph Ball, and then pressing right and attacking almost at the same time, right? So you want to press right and then press attack immediately after. Like we're talking like a frame apart if you can nail that, right? And I find this to be the easiest method for doing this. Yeah, there we go. And this allows us to stand up. And the reason why this is useful is that allows us to now take damage from these hazards here. Cool. And it just saves like a couple of seconds. There's a hazard on the exact opposite end of the Morph Ball tunnel. So it only saves like a few seconds or so. Yeah, cool. Okay. But now that we have Morph Ball, we can actually end up progressing, okay? And so we only technically need one more upgrade to be able to finish this run itself. And it's all because of a single wall and bunker that we can't get past unless we have this one skill. That's the only reason we need to get it. So in order to finish the run, we're going to add on minutes and minutes of like prep work and then going and getting the thing in order to be able to finish it out. And that skill that we need is known as Blink, which is going to be an upgrade to our dash. So what we're going to do is we ended up picking up 2 parts that ended up getting us 100 scrap each once we sell it. So we're going to go and get that money first. But here is going to be another piece of Morph Ball tech, okay? So when you jump and re-enter Morph Ball, right, some weird stuff can happen, right? It considers that you're rolling in the air. So if I do this against the corner, it actually allows me to get a bunch of height, just like that, right? Just like that. So I'm going up into a ledge, jumping and activating Morph Ball and holding jump into the right. And that allows me to do that. So I'll just show this in one fluid segment here, right? Right, that was a good one. That's perfect, yeah. And you can do another one off of that little lip there to jump on here. And it allows you to just slightly crawl over some of these ledges as well by entering Morph Ball. So if I just go like this, I can sneak over the ledge a little bit quicker, right? So here, I'm going to turn into those parts to this person and grab all the scrap. And just make sure that you grab all 200 scrap before you go into the screen transition. Because if you go to the next screen, that scrap actually ends up despawning. And I totally haven't lost a run to accidentally doing that before. But yeah, we need at least 200 scrap in order to progress. But here, instead of landing on each of these platforms individually, we can end up going up them a little bit faster by just doing wall jumps off of each one of them, just like this. Whoops. One more set. There we go.
Yeah, it's like you can't do it too fast, I've noticed. Because if you do it too fast, you get out of sync. You have to just do it just tiny little bit slower. Like you have to be patient with it.
Yeah, just right. It's just right. And I love that. I love like platforming sections where it's like, yes, you want to jump max height. Yes, you want to do buffer landing jump. And then those ones that really throw you off is when you want to jump just a little bit under max height. Right? It's just like, I love that. I love that in games like this. Yeah. So here is going to be a next sequence break. This one only saves like a few seconds, but here we're going to get heat sealant to be able to get to Blink itself in a little bit of a faster route. So what we do is we're going to hold up or down, and then we are going to press Z to confirm that we want to buy heat sealant before we touch the ground. Okay, because like during the menu of like, do you want to buy heat sealant? Here, I'll actually just show this, right? You're still falling in the morph ball itself, okay? You're still falling. Right? You're still falling. However, if we end up confirming the purchase before we land on the ground, we'll open up the next menu as I accidentally alt-tab, then it allows us to be able to move through that section. So once again, in a little bit of a smoother fashion, and that allows us to skip the cutscene. Otherwise, you have to end up watching the cutscene of grabbing the pickup itself. Then if I'm on 3 or 4 health there, I'll end up just taking intentional damage there, because we're going to be taking an intentional death in this upcoming section. So here, we need one more collectible item, which is going to be known as Bulblet. And Bulblet basically acts as the lantern in Hollow Knight, if you're familiar with the game, allowing you to see in dark and spooky places. And it is collected by attacking this enemy. So ideally, we want to be on 2 health here. In this one section. Then after I defeat the boss, I'm going to take an intentional damage to hazard, collect the Bulblet, and then take the death for no time loss. Then immediately I'm going to be moving over to the right for the hardest section in the game. Right, so I'm just going to move through this, and I'm just going to show this off.
Oh my goodness.
No way.
My goodness, wow.
Yeah.
I always take a damage there, man. I can't do it. That was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, so that is honestly the hardest screen in the game, in my opinion, for 2 reasons. One is that you can't just hold to the left and continue to move and control your height with jump. You have to intentionally slow down in a couple sections and then do really discrete jump heights and morph ball transition timings in order to be able to maintain your speed, and then the downward pogo in order to get through. And that is incredibly difficult. The reason why that one section in particular is also really spoopy is that we can't dash in these sections, okay? So what I suggest doing as a beginner is coming into the section, right? Slowing down and then waiting here, and then just slowing down this platforming section, right? Wait for the toast to go away, and then take an intentional damage, and then morph ball jump through that last little section there. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to show this off. Right? Okay, so here now is going to be the important section. So just get through those platforms without falling down. Jump, jump, get through. Right, take the intentional damage and just get through that part. Right, getting through this part with only taking 1 damage is very, very good, okay? I cannot stress that enough. That screen is incredibly difficult. But here I'll try and do the speedrun movement again that I shopped myself. Yeah, there we go.
I
That's
can't
so
believe that,
clean.
dude.
That's
2
so
times in a row,
clean.
and then he takes the damage to the
hazard at the end,
inanimate
yeah.
object.
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, I can't stress enough. Like, I'm making this look incredibly easy, but this is just something that I've done hundreds of times, and I'm just incredibly comfortable with doing it.
Bravo.
Then in this next section, it is very useful to do morph ball jumps here. And then we are going to collect one more sort of pickup here that's going to allow us to move and morph ball a little bit quicker. Then this enemy, if they move to the right, that's bad RNG. And if this happens, just wait for the enemy to die, right? And then you don't have to worry about them anymore. And then you can just morph ball jump through this last section, getting over the enemy. No problem. And then here we have exactly 9 scraps. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a backslide and heal up during this. And then spend the rest of my energy on dashes. Okay? So this next area, it's not over yet. This is like easily the hardest grouping of segments in this entire run. Here is Sunken Wastes, which I have to imagine took a lot of inspiration from Hollow Knight. It is definitely Spoopy Town, and so I call it Spoopy Town.
That's a great name.
Yeah, and so going through here, what we do is a very discrete set of actions, okay? First, I'm going to Morph Ball. I'm going to fall in neutral and then hold to the right after I pass the first enemy, right? So you see that enemy crawling on the wall. After I pass by him, I'm just going to hold to the right. Then I'm going to bounce off of that, hold to the right, deactivate Morph Ball, and then dash under the next enemy. So I'm just going to quick save and show this in fashion. Right? So there I accidentally took damage. I tried to slow down to make it easier to look at. Just like that, right? Just like that. So that is the first set of actions, okay? Right? Dash through. Those enemies are really hard to dash through because they're incredibly wide, right? And your dash has a finite amount of distance. So don't worry if you end up taking a damage there, right? But you can get very uncomfortably close. And then there's another section where we enter Morph Ball and hold to the right. So through and through, this looks like this, right? And voila, that's the first screen, okay? Then over here, we're going to Morph Ball jump here. Do not save here. Do not save here. Don't do it. Because if you do it, you have to go back through Incinerator Burner in order to get back to that next save location.
Wait,
but here, what we do want to do is we do want to end up equipping the Gyro Accelerator. So just go ahead and do that. Okay?
So save there.
No, don't.
Interestingly enough, the save icon appears.
Oh, it did.
Oh.
Huh.
We can't.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So,
But then, yep. Yeah, go on.
so that must be a bug.
Did you just notice a bug?
Maybe
Which
I
I'm not going to
accidentally
fix. I don't think anybody's complained about it. So, I mean, if it helps you guys, it's not that bad. Although, I hope
It
nobody's
doesn't affect
complained about it.
Yeah.
Usually when
go
I
on.
play games, I'm like double saving just to make sure like I still double save.
Yeah, word. Just to make sure it goes off, yeah. So here, these two screws here can be a little bit of RNG. Like if this one on the right ends up jumping to the right, then you have to sort of anticipate that and decide what you want to do. So here you can either do like a Morph Ball jump like that, if he's like far enough to the right, or you can just dash off that ledge, whatever is most comfortable for you. Then through here, that claw should be like all the way down, and this guy should be a little bit further to the left, but we basically just handle that section as you may. Next, if you are on 1 health, you are going to slow down and kill some enemies. I kid you not, right? So kill these guys, right? I'm being 100% serious here. I'm not doing this for like beginners, but this is true for intermediate runners. The only people I don't suggest or people who I suggest blitzing through on 1 health and on the next screen are people going for world record. That's it, right? So if you have 1 health, unfortunately, you come to the section, then just if you're going for world record, blitz through. But for everybody else, slow down, get some scrap if you need it. Because this next section has the most RNG in the run, right? So you would just kill this enemy as well. Okay, and go through. But here, just what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a save state here and do this screen a couple of times because it's one of the hardest screens in the entire run. And I'm just going to go through it piece by piece. So first, we're going to be in Morph Ball. Because he jumped to the left, I'm just going to wait for a bit and then go under. And then there, I'm going to damage slide off because I have the health. If I don't have the health, then I'm going to not do that. And then there, I can end up corner boosting up that ledge there, right? So this screen can go in a million different ways. So we're just going to go through it again to show this. Right, that time he jumped to the right, so I didn't have to stop holding to the right. Then I decided not to damage boost there. Maybe I had low health. There, that I didn't get messed up by RNG, so I can end up corner boosting off of that one corner and getting really high and just
corner
skipping those
boosting
screens.
is like dark magic to me.
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. It's like my favorite piece of tech in the run, for sure. Besides maybe like heel sliding. Yeah.
I like heel sliding.
Yeah. But after you get past that screen, the other screens really aren't too brutal. I always fall there. There, you can do a damage slide, right? So if you take a damage and slide, it causes you to go further once again. And then here, we're just going to hold to the right, get over that little lip, jump, and then feel free to expend whatever key you have. And then when you make it to blink, you breathe a big sigh of relief, and you can continue on to the next hardest part in the run, which will be bunker after we get one more final skill, which is actually optional for the run. But we have labbed it out to be faster currently. But that being said, if you liked heel sliding, which was, once again, attacking a ledge and then holding down the heel, we can actually also do this with blink. So what blink does is it allows us to use dash now to both dash in the air, but also dash through a little bit faster, maybe a little bit further as well. I think it might be a little bit further. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. But also, we can end up doing blink heel slides, just like that. So now we can really zoom very fast. And then here,
it's all fast.
yeah. And there we can actually do another BLJ in order to be able to build some height to save one wall jump, which saves a fraction of a second, so it's not important. But there, right, we do one more heel slide, right? So like all together, the movement in this section is going to look like this. Nope, it's not going to look like that. Oops. Okay, look like this. Almost. All right. And then one more heel slide. And then we just take an intentional death to these hazards. And so now we are going to be using this last save location for one last death warp. There we go. And now we are going to head up. With that being said, now that we have blink, this actually causes some sort of frame rate or something or another to not work as well. And it's all because of collecting blink, as far as we know. And so now you'll notice that on my corner boosting with the morph ball, I'm actually not building nearly as much height anymore. And so this can actually be fixed by actually just taking a damage from an enemy. And so notice now that I am now building enough height. So you can actually just plan out like certain heel slides in certain sections if you want to, in order to get through a little bit faster.
What
which
the
is
hell?
interesting. Yeah. But yeah, now like even after saving at the save station, I still have the better morph ball jump. Whoops.
So yeah, just taking a damage?
Yeah, just taking a damage. I believe there's another one. So another funny thing, Mr. Morris, is that taking a damage from a hazard does not relieve us from this state. It has to be specifically taking a normal damage from an enemy.
Yeah, they're different methods, that's why. But...
Yeah. So here used to be one of the most cursed sequence breaks in the entire run, but we found a much easier method after we get... Oh, wait, I forgot Morph Ball Bomb! Oh, yeah, no, the folly of speedrunning.
I was going to say, you don't have the bomb yet.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I
thought you were going to show the difficult way.
No, I don't want to. Please don't make me.
You're like, please stop.
Yeah.
What, do you want me to do another haiku to show the difficult way?
Just really quickly. So there, I ended up clipping through that hazard there by blinking on the ground. And this is actually really, really powerful for the speedrun itself, right? Whereas if I was in the air, this would not. This would be a lot more difficult. It was actually something that Mr. Morris directly helped me lab out like almost a year ago, which was we found out that there are certain gaps in hazards. And so just being on that floor just turns out to be one of those gaps. But here we have Morph Ball Bomb now. And so we are going to progress into the next boss. But here is a safety bit of scrap if you want to collect it. If you're a newer runner, I suggest just feeling free to slow down and grabbing some of this scrap. And then progressing through using Morph Ball Bomb to break these floors. Then, because we got a energy refill, you can blink once. And we are going to go into sort of the, how do you say, absolutely required portions of boss battles in order to be able to finish out a speedrun. And so here is going to be the first one. I think it's Electron? It's Electron. I'm pretty sure it's Electron.
Yep.
Yes, okay, I got it. All right. And so there's going to be 3 of these types of bosses that are all going to fight in like pretty similar methods, but have sort of environmental uniqueness as I take an intentional damage boost there. And we need to kill all 3 of these bosses. And so here, once again, just using up slashes in order to be able to continue to deal damage. And you'll notice that like chinging sound, the kern, and whenever you hear that, I end up getting a critical hit. And so in the game itself, it claims that you have a 10% chance to crit while you have Infinity Edge on. Oh no, I have way too much health. That's okay. However, it's actually, I believe, 12.5% exactly. But here on this wall here, I see that single animation of the black things like swirling around and coming out. And I take a death there while the dialogue boxes are still up. And doing that allows me to skip a cutscene as well as like take the death warp. So I get back here. So we actually ended up skipping a cutscene we'll see a little bit later on when we go and fight Neutron, the next one of these bosses. Cool. All right. So now that we have more fall bomb.
I'm struggling to get that cutscene skip, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the death timing is important, as well as the making sure that you don't skip dialogue too fast. So you want to die as closely to the black swirly things as possible, and then you want to not skip all the way through the dialogue. If you skip through the dialogue too fast, then you end up getting like this animation where you spawn with your sword sticking up in the air and you get soft locked. So you have to quit the menu and reload. Or if you die too quickly, then the flag doesn't go off, letting you know that you've killed the boss. So you have to travel all the way back down, fight the boss again, and then retry the skip. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So here, instead of doing the incredibly hard method, we can just end up doing something known as a bomb boost. So if you are in Morph Ball midair and you activate the bomb, then it actually ends up bursting you up a little bit of a ways. And so this allows us sequence breaking, having to collect a skill known as double jump. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite abilities, like the combination of the roll and the bomb. Like obviously it's from Super Metroid, but I feel like this is a lot more, what do you say, like organic. Like Super Metroid, you have to place the bomb and then wait for it to detonate, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But this is just like immediate. So it essentially just replaces a double jump. Like it's a harder double jump, but so many people are like, oh, I just completely skipped the double jump in this game. And I think, I don't know, it brings me joy for some reason, because it means like there was this sort of aha moment for the player where they're like, oh, I can do this and get over this obstacle this way instead and stuff like that. So that was like one of the core sort of premises of the game for me, is just to allow players to do whatever they want and approach like different challenges with like different ways, basically.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
I think pretty much like every platforming segment has at least 2 or 3 ways of doing it. So with different abilities. So it's like really just unique to the player.
That is really cool. I do appreciate that a lot. I love that, especially like Metroidvanias, like being able to go through and like get certain skills in different sequence orders. I just always love to see those a lot. So here is the door to the final boss. So here, as you notice, this boss was the one that we ended up defeating, purifying it. And so it is working on one of the locks. So we have 2 more of these bosses to go. This next one, I think, was supposed to be the last one we get, as we do a nice corner boost there. Oh, I missed that. So I'm just going to show this off. Nope. So here, if we end up just jumping up immediately, then we can get through there.
Nicely done.
Yeah. But upcoming here, this is definitely going to be probably the hardest sections for newest runners besides Incinerator Burner, because it's very easy to take a lot of damage. So what I highly suggest doing is, 1, considering different routes. 2, just don't be afraid to slow down and heal with all that extra scrap that we're collecting in the run. And then 3, don't panic. Don't worry if you take a death and lose a run. It just happens to everybody, even top level runners. Bunker really is that difficult of a section. So first, I'm just going to go ahead and show off like the speedy way of doing this first. is first we do a buffered landing jump into another buffered landing jump. There we go. And then we grapple across, try and land on that tiny platform, which I missed. And there I got the backup of doing a BLJ in order to get up to that platform, right? So I'll try and just show this off one more time. Okay, nope. It's there if you jump too soon, you just bonk into the ceiling like I did again. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was nice.
That laser almost got you.
I know. It was so close.
But that is incredibly spooky. So an alternate method where you don't have to worry about the laser itself is you can actually do an earlier grapple itself. And if you don't want to do the buffered landing jump, just do a wall jump like right there, right? It's like, no problem, no problem. And then here, you can either just like go across like this, not spending energy, and then do a buffer, do a jump here like this with blink, which is significantly easier than the grapple trick. Or what Quacksilver did during her GDQ run, which I found very cool, was she ended up coming up like this and then going across, across, and then coming through this section here, right? So, using that energy refill, right, from coming into the screen, jumping, using a grapple immediately, coming into the screen, doing a set sequence of corner boosts there, and then
cool.
And then we just like completely skip having to do any of that like blink, any of that buffered landing jump shenanigans, any of that stuff, right? And we come to this one wall, and this one wall is the entire reason we need blink for the speed run. So if we didn't need to go through this one wall, then we wouldn't need to collect the blink, which is absolutely amazing. I love that so much.
I love it. Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, there we go. So here, we're going to come into a massive sequence break, actually, which is known as bunker skip. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, at a very specific height, we're going to try and clip through this very top portion of this door here. Oh, that was really close. That was really close. And there we go. Right? And so it is really, really that precise. And so what a common strategy to do there in that specific spot itself is to just sort of slide along the wall and then blink at a specific time. But if you want to have like some gusto, you can just like immediately go into it, right? And just go boom, right? And just go into it. So here,
Easy.
if you're, yeah.
Easy.
Here, if you are completely overheated, what I advise doing, because we need to grapple in the next room, is coming over here, coming to the screen, then coming back out, and that will refresh your heat, and then you can just fall down and then come into this next spot. Because here we're just going to jump and grapple. And here I don't need to do this, but there's this one basketball hoop there, which is probably my favorite thing aesthetically wise, and it's a huge meme in the speedrunning community. So this is the validation hoop, and so you need to do a slam dunk on this hoop.
I love it. Oh, I love those validation checkpoints.
Yeah. And so there is going to be some safety health, which you should get every single run. Every single person gets that health every single time. And then here, if you want to be fancy, you can heel slide there, or you can just do a bunch of blinks or a grapple and come down into probably the hardest boss fight in the entire game, when you're pushing for a world record especially. But for a casual playthrough, this is not the hardest boss fight in the game, but it's very easy to take a death, and it is probably like the most punishing boss fight in the game itself. So here I'm not going to showcase off a world record strat, which is going to be known as laser skip, which would normally happen in the second phase of the game, and instead I'm just going to advise for caution, right? Just continue to follow the boss around, get used to all of its patterns, right? It's going to start laughing there, so I know it's going to go over to the right, and then I can just end up continuing to fight the boss. Because here, it is very, very easy to take a damage. Then coming into the second phase, just go ahead and heal up, right? Don't worry about getting optimal damage going into the fight, right? The most important thing is that you end up getting through every single boss fight, especially when you're starting out with the speed game. Because oftentimes in games like this, where the only save feature is a checkpoint system, is going to be the hardest thing is staying alive and making sure that you consistently get through boss fights. But here, this is laser, right? So it's a pretty long section, but you'll notice that the boss can't actually end up dying until I end up getting through that laser section. So if you're not on full health, just go ahead and heal up here. So it's still going to be a bit before we end up boss fighting. And there, that first Death Warp versus Electron is going to be skipping this cutscene here. So this cutscene is the one that we would normally skip. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So there's really not too much left in the run itself. We just are going to have one more section to get through that we are going to immediately exit out by going through Bunker. And just like the previous screen, there's a few ways of getting through this. The way that I like to go through it is by doing this with Blink, going onto that small platform and getting through. But there's also just some shenanigans you can do with Blink, which I'm just going to show off really quickly. So here, instead, what you can do is do a buffered landing jump there, and then use grapple to go off of this platform, right? And then platform up as you will, right? In order to get up there as well. But then you have to like deal with the laser enemy and stuff like that, so it can be a little bit tricky. But so here, just grappling across, and then coming over to this ledge, and then I suggest going for this Blink strat. I definitely do not find this too bad as long as you don't end up blinking too early. Yeah, which is what I did there as I fall down. But yeah, like especially
this room
Metroidvanias.
is terrible. Like I struggle so much with this room. I swear.
Yeah. And so like a really cool strat that I like to use as a backup safety is notice that when I exit the screen and re-enter it, the enemies are no longer there, right? So just literally resetting the room as sort of like a checkpoint, then you get another attempt at this part, right? And that's awesome. Like that's what you really want to do for the speedrun itself. As I accidentally took a damage there, so I actually am gonna come back and take this enemy out to heal up. Cool, okay. So here I am going to just go ahead and heal because the next room we're going to use to be able to refill heat as we go into the next sequence break of the run. But here you can do a nice little corner boost, sort of a strat. But here I suggest exiting and re-entering the room. And then if you're practicing, yeah, set that save state. But once again, we don't have save states when we go to do runs. So here is going to be a sequence of 3 screens. And there's an upgrade that costs 200 scrap that stops you from taking damage from the rain in this overworld section. And I do not have that upgrade, right? So I'm just going to show this. There's going to be rain. And there we go, we took damage. However, that's okay, because we have grapple as well as our blink slides, right? So you can also just do this with pure grapple tech as well. So the first screen, we're just gonna grapple the moment we get control. Second screen, we are going to grapple the moment we get control, and then grapple or blink slide. And then the third and final screen, we are going to jump and then grapple. So I'm just gonna show this. Right, no damage. Here we take damage, right? And there I was a little bit low, so I will take another damage, okay? But you can actually end up doing all of these sections without taking any damage, except for this screen. This screen, you will always take 1 damage, right? And then jump and grapple. Boom, right? Just like that. So you can get through that section with only taking 1 damage, but it's really important that you grapple as early as you possibly can. Okay, but now I'm just going to quickly speed through these last number of screens, and we're going to get into 2 more boss fights before we close out the run. Okay. So here, for a little bit of safety, you can activate that elevator for a little bit of faster backtracking. There, I just did a corner boost, and then we're going to grapple right there. And now we are overheated, so we can no longer use energy. But here, as I mentioned with the tech, is that if I enter Morph Ball after jumping, it allows me to maintain my speed. This is going to be really useful in this section because normally, I imagine a lot of these platforming sections, you would be expected or hoped to have double jump at your disposal. But here we're going to do a very specific cycle skip right there with the extra movement speed we get from running Morph Ball. And then move into this one, and then here's another one. Yep, just like that. And then here is one section where we do have to slow down. Okay? So in this next screen, if you're low on scrap, this is going to be an excellent... Or no, not this screen, sorry, the 2 screens ago would be an excellent place to get more scrap. But I have 3 health, and 3 health is more than plenty to take on this boss. unless I get absolutely massively ruined by RNG in the last phase. Okay. But here in the first phase, you just slowly move horizontally and just do up slashes. You don't even need to jump at all. Whoops, accidentally took a damage there. That was very silly. And then just get comfy with the patterns themselves, right? So there's going to be one pattern in particular that I hope I don't get in the second phase, and then there's another one that, as a beginner, I would also hope not to get. Okay, so this is the pattern you never want to get in any speedrun itself, because there is RNG with where these flame turrets can be, and I got 4 in a row with it, so that is pretty amazing. And then I got the second pattern that you never want to have to get. So now it's going to be a really tricky projectile section where I'm going to really try my best and not take damage. There we go, I only took 1, so that's great. And then here we're going to do another intentional death. So once again, wait for the boss to go into the animation where he starts doing the swirlies, and then fall into the lava. And make sure not to skip any dialogue here. And then after you respawn, it will automatically skip the dialogue, and you won't get the silly soft lock where you stick the sword up in the air. But now that we've done that, we have access to the final boss. So grapple all the way to the left, grapple to the right, skipping the cutscene for opening that, and we will head into the final boss fight, which was the hardest one for the casual playthrough, but I will have some tricks to be able to do. So this boss, unlike the other ones, has 3 phases in total. The first one is going to be the hardest. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and stay close to the middle of the boss as I'm going through, right? And then I'm going to cross to the other side of the boss. But here I'm going to use Morph Ball on that attack in order to become intangible to its attack. But yeah, there. So it dashed down and to the right. So I moved to its other side. Then here, unlike other bosses, we can actually keep damaging this boss coming into the phases. So I'm going to do my best to continue to do attacks while it's going through those phases. And now second phase is done. So we're hoping for 2 to 3 crits here for the final phase. We got 1, 2, and there we go. All right, and so that is the final boss.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wow, you made that look easy. I'm not gonna make it look that easy.
And I think that's an awesome thing. Like, I'm somebody who has pumped hundreds of hours into the speed game itself, as well as over 10,000 hours in speedrunning in general. Like, speedrunning at a reasonable, if not a high level, in specific speed games themselves. Right? So, like, I'm a veteran to this. So I made a lot of this stuff look incredibly easy. It's not. It definitely is not. But if you have a little bit of like tricks and stuff to watch out for, then you're good to go. But I apologize. I think this went a little bit longer than I intended.
No, you're okay. You're totally fine. Yeah. No, we're totally good. We are underestimate. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. No, we're good. It's so you're all good. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you showing off the tips, tricks, and tech, because I know that like any Metrovania has a lot going on, and honestly, you did a beautiful job showcasing as well as explaining everything. And I appreciate you, Mr. Morris, giving us some more insight of the video game as well. It was kind of funny, I have to admit, to see the bug live and you catching it. That was really funny. But yeah, so we are going to go into a break again. We do have to set up for Mr. Morris to speedrun his own video game again. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We'll be back more with some Legally Cute Haiku the Robot, the cute edition. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. This is Cutie Roo. I am bringing you more Legally Cute Haiku the Robot, the Cute Edition. We are here now with the developer, Mr. Morris Games. He's going to be running his own video game. I am so excited. He's doing the 80%, and it's going to be a ton of fun. And I am just so excited. And I know I said that twice now, but that's how much it is. But before we get into the run, I just want to have a little bit of a reminder that your subs, priming game subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel do help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content. Also, the Frost Fatales 2023 prize submissions are open until the 20th of this month. So if you would like to participate or get involved, go to gamesdonequick.com, or you could use the command prizes in Twitch chat to submit them. Also, just a little bit of a reminder, we do have the Unapologetically Black and Fast that is coming up this weekend. It's going to be starting tomorrow, and it's going to be the whole entire time. And honestly, it would be a fun time. Definitely show up. If you want to learn more about the schedule, use the command UBAF in Twitch chat. Alrighty, Mr. Morris, are you all set? You ready to go?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Alrighty. Well, let's have you do the honor of counting us down, and Cover and I will be happy to watch you speedrun. And all the GD cuties in chat.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. That was so weird. I've never done that before.
So, I wanted to say it was amazing to watch you just talk about your game in general, but I'm really, really super, super happy to see you speedrun it.
Yeah, we'll see how well I do. If I just stop talking in moments, it's not because I don't like you. It's because I'm just concentrating. Okay?
Yeah, no, totally.
No worries.
That is definitely a thing in speedrunning, is that it can be incredibly difficult to be able to focus on A, what you're doing, B, what you're going to be doing, and like C, crisis management. Like things go wrong and then you have to like try and improvise off of those. So there's always a lot to keep track of. But here's first big skip.
First time, let's go.
Let's go.
Nice.
Oh, I got an
so
achievement.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Is it your first time playing the game?
It's not. It's probably like my 100th time playing the game. But funny enough, I don't have all the achievements on Steam because usually I don't run it on Steam. I usually just run it directly from Unity.
Oh, that's right.
And I think when I was testing the achievements, I used to just reset them and stuff like that. Ooh.
Okay. Remember, you can always like kill an enemy or two in order to get 9 scrap and heal.
Nah, it's all right. We're gonna risk it.
What about 7? Dividing 7 by 3.
7 divided by 3. Oh no. Yeah, so there's 2 things that need to really be careful of in this boss fight. One are the like falling projectiles here, and then also the second thing is going to be at the very end of the fight.
Yeah, that phantom attack.
Yeah, the boss like does a single attack downwards when you hit lethal damage, and it finishes its final animation. And so it's like you never want to be on 1 health going into this boss fight. But fortunately, it's like right at the start of the speed run, so it's like not too worrisome, right? If you have to reset from a death.
Yeah, I think he's gonna die.
Yeah, there he goes. So yeah, get the scrap. Good. Yes, safety. I love it.
We love the safety saves. Or safety strats, I meant to say, because I'm so used to Ori.
Yeah.
Safety save is what you say all the time.
Yeah, touche.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Okay, so up here, we're actually going to be taking intentional death. If you are just joining us now, we're speedrunning Haiku the Robot. Mr. Morris is the developer of the game. The developer, right? And so here we're witnessing him doing a speedrun of his own game, which is absolutely amazing.
Well, it's like, if I'm going to speedrun any game, it's going to be this game.
It's got to be your own. Yeah, exactly. And so there, he took an intentional death because it's a little bit faster than backtracking. Because the save system in this game is based off of checkpoints. And so really, we're going to be activating very specific checkpoints and then really trying to be on high health, high scrap amount for the remainder of the run so that we don't take an unintentional death, because those unintentional deaths will be the biggest time loss. Yes, under strats. Right, look at that. They're just not in the way.
Clean. He's so clean.
That is, I don't know what that is. That's some that's some mathematical life stuff, you know, where it's just like, I don't know how. Oh, yeah. That's, oof. I was a bit unlucky, but managed to get through it.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. These are kind of the scary bits right here. So here I'd suggest just slowing down and healing. Yeah, like go up to 3, honestly.
No. Risk the...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 3. We're going to 3.
Yeah, and it's because there's going to be actually 2 very scary screens coming up. Not
Is it this way?
to the right,
No.
to the right.
Ah!
It's all good, it's all good.
The notes are getting to me. Oh, damn.
Ooh, that
Really
was
nice. Like getting through that
clean.
screen without taking a damage is actually very difficult. There's splendid patterns. And good RNG! Yes, okay. So I guess you didn't need to heal. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay, but now it's bunker skip? I mean, not bunker skip. Jeez.
Car battery skip. Getting
Car
ahead of
battery
yourself.
skip. Yeah, I remember right.
Oh, it took a damage.
Yeah, I think you could still go for it. And then go for the BLJ.
Yeah, but the BLJ is a bit
It's
dodgy.
tricky. All right, yep.
Oh, I see.
Almost. You might still make it, honestly. Because you have enough for a dash here. So just dash. No. Okay. So you can quit the menu here also if you want to backtrack to the save location a little bit quicker. But also just taking a death is fine. Yeah, so what happened here is that Mr. Morris is trying to take 4 damage from a hazard. So a hazard is an inanimate object or sort of an inanimate animation that is going on that deals damage to the player, as opposed to an enemy that's going to be like actively tracking you and moving around. And doing this actually stacks some sort of intangibility within the game. So doing so causes it to be impossible for Mr. Morris to be able to take damage from enemies. Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that time it came
nice.
up, but
Yeah, let's go.
that part, it just can't get it every time.
Yeah,
Oh, no
it's
worries.
tough. I mean, it is a
tough.
precise timing press to be able to get that. So what Mr. Morris did there was he jumped a little bit higher than he should have. But yeah, that's about it. We don't really need to say anything else. But here, I would advise getting scrap here for safety, even though you have a good number. Yeah, 24 is good. Okay.
You could divide that by 3.
Yep. You can't divide that by 3, so that's good. Don't try it, Rue. I see what you're doing. And so this is for, honestly, going up to Morph Ball. There's going to be a lot. And there's going to be a lot of enemies that can be in really funky positions that can really throw you off. And then also if you miss a small platform section. Like there we skipped a save station, which acts as an active checkpoint that we can activate, as well as a full health refill. But we can't use that because we want to take an intentional death for it, because that's going to save us a large metric bunch ton of time, like throughout the speedrun. And so here, going up on a high number of scrap is going to allow us to heal. Because in order to heal 1 health, you have to crank the heal mechanic 3 times, which costs not scraps to roll. Oh no!
Oh.
This is bad, guys.
Yeah. It's
pretty
okay.
bad.
It's okay. You just have to go through again. That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it. So here we're back at the save station that we skipped, but that's okay, right? So that one spot is one place you don't want to fall down into, because you have to do all this again, but he was very close to where he wanted to be. But that's okay. We get to see more Haiku the robot, and that's never anything to complain about.
Exactly. I honestly just, the whole game itself, it's just, I love it. Especially got to see another character too.
Yeah, word. Yeah, exactly. We got more lore, right? This is all about story time.
Yeah,
again. Oh,
There you go. Nice jump.
Yeah, it's because I usually dash over it. I got used to dashing over it.
Yeah. So that is one thing, right? Like going through a screen, you get so used to going through it in one sort of specific pattern. And then what happens, right, when you make that mistake? And so Mr. Morris actually improvising there was actually incredibly impressive. That is not easy to do. Yeah, and so there he got bad RNG with that steam enemy, and then the next one, but he got out of there. Very nicely done.
Can you make
And he
that
has
sound
enough for
again?
1 heal.
I love that sound you made. I'm sorry. I'm dead. Okay.
What, me?
That that was so good. I'm sorry. That was a great sound.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay, just go back to the next screen and heal. Yeah, you can heal here. I think it's safe. But I would back out to the previous screen and then come back into this. Because if you reset the screen, then you are back to the pattern that you're most comfortable with. So now that one's up and to the right.
These are a little too RNG for my liking.
They're really scary to deal with, especially in those thin corridors. Yeah, if you can take them out, that would be great. Okay, get the scrap. You have enough for a heal, so just go ahead and heal. Yeah, so one thing that, for people who don't know, I was actively working with Rue as well as Mr. Morris in the weeks leading up to this in order to help give some like friendly tips and advice with picking up the speed game and stuff like that and help them figure out the route that they wanted to take. And so one rule of thumb we have is that if you are ever on 1 health, slow down, get some scrap, and heal up to 2, right? The most punishing thing in this game is taking an unintentional death. So just making sure that you mitigate those circumstances is going to allow you to consistently work through. Like even here, I highly suggest in this screen to killing one of these enemies here.
Yeah.
Which I like to kill the second enemy, yeah, because it's the easiest one to take care of. Cool, and then you have enough scrap to be able to heal up another time if you want to. Which is great. Okay, so killing that one enemy ends up despawning the other 2 sort of like crane sawdisc arms. And that allows us to be able to get through there a lot easier. And that's massive, right? Consistency and isn't all about being optimal in speedrunning. It's oftentimes being efficient, right? I'm like hard pressed to think of a single speedrunner in like an incredibly well-optimized game that goes for every single optimal strat. There's always going to be things that are sort of out of the scope of like human RTA. Like, unless we're talking about sort of like a 5-minute NES speedrun or something like that. Not a 5-minute, like a 5-second one. Ooh, yeah. Good, yes. Safety. Okay, so there, what Mr. Morris is doing is going into the previous screen is going to completely reset the enemy positions and their AI. So then coming into the screen, they are now going to be in the same spot. That one is gone.
That
is interesting.
Strange. I don't think I killed it, right? I don't know.
No.
Maybe I did.
I don't think you did.
I don't think you did.
I was in commentary mode, so I have no idea.
I'm gonna override. You defeated it by just being cute. There you go. Boom.
Yeah, nailed it.
Oh, that was beautiful. Clean movement.
Yeah, very nice. So upcoming here is going to be a boss fight. This is going to be important. I definitely like slowing down and making sure that I'm just not taking a single damage. So whatever you need to do to not take damage is absolutely what you should do. Because after this boss fight is going to be when we want to take the intentional death itself. So Mr. Morris is opting to do a bunch of downward pogos. And yes, yes, that's so good.
That's so good. Great job.
Yeah, that is amazing. Well done. I missed that, like when I just did the thing and was showing off a tutorial, right? And so that is so cool to see.
It's cool, and he got it too.
Yeah. So boss fight is now over. Well done. Very, very good job. That is incredible, GG.
I am.
That's such a sigh of relief.
Yeah. Well, no, it's so impressive to me how fast you got your speedrun down. Like, it's just, I know you made the game, but I'm sorry, it's still really impressive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So that's like time parity right there with just taking the hazard to the right of this room, getting that fast. So that was really, really good.
Now we're down,
money.
up.
So you go up. And so here, Mr. Morris picked up two very specific pickups, which are going to get him 100 scrap, which are the currency that is shown in the top right corner. And this is going to allow us to buy a single upgrade, which is going to be heat sealant. It's going to allow us to go into fire areas without taking damage over time. in those areas. Then we also are going to need another upgrade in order to get through the next section of the speedrun, which is going to be known as Bulblet, which is basically the lantern from Hollow Knight, as you can imagine it. And so we need both of these things, like these 4 objects, right? The 2 pieces of currency, heat sealant, and then Bulblet, in order to be able to end up getting a single pickup in the run, because there's a single spot later in the run that we need it. And so the skill that we're going to be collecting later on is going to be known as Blink. And so Blink requires heat sealant. Oh, you did fall down! Very nice. I always fall down there.
I'm surprised you didn't last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I slowed down and that's why. But if I just go in like trying to speedrun, it's like, yeah, no. But 3 health is actually very good coming into the section because we're going to want to take an intentional death. And that big yellow beam to the left is actually going to be a hazard. So here, finishing off this sort of hive cluster, Mr. Morris is going to take 2 damage to the hazard, then pick up Bulblet, and then take the intentional death. Then immediately after, they're going to go to the left in order to end up progressing towards that Blink pickup. Yeah, no, so you want to go from the save location to the left. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot which way was left.
Yeah.
You mean right? Right there to the left?
Yeah. So here, this is going to be some of the hardest platforming in the game, so I'm going to just sort of let you walk. Yeah, so there, nice jumps. Tiny little platforms there. Really nice pace actually through the section. And it takes 2 damage, that's okay. We are low on scrap, so we're probably gonna wanna kill some enemies at some point in order to get more scrap in order to heal up. But then here, just taking a little bit of extra time for this section, you are going to end up probably taking another damage coming out of this, Mr. Morris. I'm just gonna let you know. Yep, okay, so we're on 1 health. We do have good RNG, and so we'll see if you can get...
Oh, no!
Almost. That was really close. But we did get the Gyro Accelerator badge.
But didn't equip it.
No problem, no problem.
So good.
No, that's okay, that's okay. So you don't have to do that again, so you can avoid that damage guaranteed from that flying, like, fire spirit thing. So here we go. This is like the really tricky section. Nice! Only took 1 damage there, and that's actually incredibly impressive. So here we don't need to pick up Gyro Accelerator again because deaths do not reset your save. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that hazard point was all the way back there. Okay. Yep. Good. Good. Okay. 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 Got through. Oh, man. Yeah, that is another really scary platforming section.
It's because it wall jumped, man.
Yeah, so here's scrap.
I just missed a platform so by such a small amount.
Yeah, no problem. I think that's what I love about like platforming speedrunning. It really does come down to those like really micro moments which can make or break a run.
That was pretty poor scrap-wise. I only got 9 from 3 enemies.
Yeah, so there is inherent RNG with how much scrap you actually end up getting from enemies and sort of like these passive scrap piles that you end up breaking. That's okay. So yeah, here, hold right, good. Yep, taking left route, that's also totally good. Yeah, kill these enemies, right? Just get some extra safety scrap. Feel free to heal back up to 3.
Yeah, what is going on with these scrap drops?
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. So here you can dash through. Very nicely done. Those dashes are actually really tight. And here we're not going to save, we're going to equip the Gyro Accelerator.
Oh, I didn't have that equipped either.
Oh, yeah, Infinity Edge. But yeah, I think like this is one of the most important things with like speedruns, especially when you're starting out, is make sure that you just absolutely heal up and like slow down and go for the tech that's going to save minutes and not lose minutes to trying to be absolutely cool looking. But the enemy jumped to the left, nice, jumped over him, then just rolling through. Wow, bad RNG on that one screw, bad RNG on those clippers. So this is the last scary part. Okay, there's still one more screw that is unaccounted for. He's at the end, I believe. So just dash under. Good, okay, you got past. You only have 7 scraps, so you can't end up healing. That's okay. Just
try and get this guy.
Yeah, perfect. Good, yeah, and just heal, right? Just guarantee that you're able to get through this next section, right?
Which is that one enemy.
yeah, that's it, right? That was the last enemy, but like, if you die to that last enemy, that is like right before the skill itself. And then you would have had to do Burner Incinerator. You would have had to do the scary sections as well, all over again. But now we have Space Disruptor, which we also call Blink in the community. That's going to alter our dash to be able to blink through certain objects and stuff like that. So here, Mr. Morris is going to take an intentional death in order to go back to that save point, and then he is going to head down into the left. So head right, down left, in order to get Bomb.
Hello.
And so Bomb is really going to be sort of one of the few required skills, but there we just blink through a hazard because there's a little gap there when you're landed on the ground, so you can just blink through. And then with Bomb, we're going to be able to break these sort of janky floors and such, and that's going to allow us to drop down. Okay.
That was a little risky.
All good. And here we're going to come into our first creator boss fight, which there are going to be 3 in total. And this one is, I'm so bad with names, Electron. I believe it's Electron. I'm 99% sure because I said Electron in the last segment.
Yeah.
And so here, like in the first phase, Mr. Morris is just going to make sure that they are maintaining high health while they're fighting. Also, something we didn't mention is every single attack that we end up doing versus an enemy actually refills a little bit of the heat gauge in the top left, allowing us to use more abilities and stuff. So here you can go down to 2 health very safely. Yep, good. And then this is going to be important. Okay. So here, blink through.
I gotta take my time.
That's okay, just blink through. Play it safe. Watch out for the drop down. Yep, good. Uh-oh, okay. Good. Yep. Okay, blink through. Good. Yep. Nice. Good. All right, and there's the boss fight. So on the right wall, if you want to try and go for it. So here, Mr. Morris is going to wait for a specific animation in the boss. And then they're going to jump into hazard. Yeah, go. Yeah, nice, 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 nice. And then wait to skip dialogue. And now skip dialogue. Awesome. Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that.
First time I've ever done that.
Yo, let's go.
Nice. You are doing
amazing.
so well. Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. You're playing so good.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so here, now that we have Bubble, you'll notice that these enemies are like flashing red, yellow. And so they have like heightened aggro and like stuff like that. And their patterns are a little bit spookier. But here we're going to come over to an optional pickup, which is going to be grapple. So there's a big sequence break that bypasses the requirement of getting double jump, which is using Morph Ball as well as Bomb. And you mentioned Mr. Morris. That was actually sort of a dev intended sort of a thing where you had people just mention to you that they did a playthrough of this game without finding double jump, right?
Mm-hmm. So because of the substitute, of just morph ball in or bomb jumping or whatever it's called in Metroid. Now we go up again, yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna go to that next save station next to the end. Okay. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You can keep going. If you take a death here, it's not the most costly of deaths. But yeah, if you want to just like slow down, grab some scrap, and heal up, that is also really good.
Nice whole 2 metal of scrap.
Yeah, so these early game enemies in particular can be a bit spoopy. Blink. Cool. Okay. Great.
Yeah. You got it. I was gonna say.
Kill this one.
Yeah, go for it. And just remember that they spawn smaller dudes. Be spoopy. Great. Okay. Awesome.
Smart.
That guy might hit you.
Oh.
Okay. We're good. Yeah. So this is it, right? We just have this sort of like rule of thumb, right? If you're on 1 health, slow down, get some scrap, heal up, right? Get through the run, right? So like so much of like people who don't speedrun, they sort of glorify the aspect of like trying to get optimal times. Yo, nice, great safety strat there. That was another one of just like going into another screen and then coming back into it, right? But like really at the end of the day, it's like whatever gets you into runs initially is going to oftentimes be the comfiest thing to do, right? You don't need to go for optimal world record strats in order to get into speedrunning and enjoy the hobby itself. All right, but upcoming here, we're going to be entering probably the second scariest area in the game, Bunker, but it's like no joke. It is definitely as difficult movement-wise as Incinerator Bunker. It's just a little less punishing, except for near the end portions. But here, Mr. Morris just making sure to climb up these platforms. And they're going to go for what Quacksilver, major shout-outs to one runner, Quacksilver, who is the current second place holder, I believe, as of today, as well as recently ran for this recent GDQ, which was a really amazing performance. They actually got very close to their PB in that. It was really very, very cool.
Oh my god. Took a damage to the easiest enemy in the game.
Yeah, you pull off like the hardest tricks and all of a sudden you're like, why?
Okay, so here's Bunker Skip. It is quite precise after Mr. Morris ends up healing up once. And
wow, come on. Oh, come on.
Jeez.
Nicely done, by the way.
Yeah, so I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have never seen Mr. Morris end up missing Bunker Skip. And the time that we have been working on him getting into the speedrun, it's just absolutely impressive to see. But this boss fight is the hardest boss fight in the speedrun, but it's one of two incredibly difficult boss fights, especially for newer runners. So it's going to be important to really just focus on not taking damage, being on high health, and then just working through at an even pace into these fights, because it is very easy to take damage in this boss fight. And because we're not going for an optimal strat known as laser skip, you want to just sort of make sure that you go through at an even pace. So Mr. Morris, especially because they made this game, the person who's currently running, they are quite familiar with these boss battle phases. So it is just so impressive, like even with that, like seeing them be able to consistently work through this boss. Because this boss gives me a lot of trouble.
Yeah, this is a difficult boss fight. And like even casually, but even in the speedrun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so being on 2 health is fine. So here's the laser.
I'm not going to do what you did. Too risky.
That's okay. That's
totally fine.
Yeah.
You get Bunker Skip every time, okay?
Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah, so here are these like attacks that spawn the X's. If you notice, you'll notice the boss also flashing, confirming that they ended up damaging themselves, which is actually very, very cool. I love that. Yeah, so I think one more phase, and then after they do this really spinny thing, the boss will be dead.
Oh no!
Oh no, another laser phase. Oh no.
What? I mean, the amount of crits. There's been a few crits. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Boo.
Come on, really? It just had to get the laser out before it died. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Mr. Morris, after this, I suggest like killing maybe 1 or 2 enemies and getting some more scrap.
Yeah, for the surface skip.
Yeah, exactly. So here we actually didn't end up picking up a pickup, which is going to be the water sealant. So remember when we picked up the heat sealant in order to resist fire? Well, we are a metal robot, and so we are pretty susceptible to water. So this is probably one of the most exciting sort of routing things in the speedrun itself, because we were figuring out exactly which sealants we needed, exactly which sort of routes were the fastest in order to get to these creator boss fights. And so for now, what we ended up discovering is that it is fastest to end up skipping water sealant And in all honesty, it's actually not too bad to do so. So here's a tight jump that Mr. Morris is going to do with a grapple. Nice, gets through, but now there's a laser enemy.
That would do.
Beautiful blink.
That would do.
Yeah.
That wasn't the cleanest, but that would do.
No, that was great. That was great. And then just make sure to heal.
Yeah, I will.
And honestly, maybe... No, you can get some scrap in a future screen. So here, there's going to be a sequence of 3 screens here. Mr. Morris is going to grapple the moment he moves into this next screen. And then he is, on the second screen, he's going to grapple immediately again. Then after he takes damage, he's going to grapple. And then third, jump and grapple. All right. Yeah, it took 3 damage, which is quite a bit, so we're on 1 health, but that's okay. After we get through this next section, this is a nice screen to heal on. The previous one. I mean, both of them are.
Oh, getting more scrap
great.
though. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Nice backups.
Yeah. And I can't remember if you can BLJ out of this or just go over here and wall jump. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, hello.
And then here, we're just going to climb the wall. So here we're going to come to the last enemy, and this is going to be another overheat zone, which basically means that Mr. Morris cannot blink, he cannot grapple. So all of these sections, he's going to use a tech known as sort of morph ball, speed, storage, or whatever, however you want to call it. And basically, if we enter morph ball after we jump, we can maintain our speed. Very nice cycle skip there. That was actually incredibly well done. Oh, yeah, I love your setup here.
Oh,
whoops.
got too far ahead of myself.
Yep. Cool, nice.
Nice.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay.
That was,
yeah, so
that was tight.
Yeah, got all the hard cycles. And I suggest healing once before the boss fight and then start the boss fight cutscene and heal again. Or just go in and heal twice. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Yeah, because
you heal.
Yeah.
I mean, this one's quite easy, to be honest, but there's some RNG elements, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So in this first phase, you just kind of like slowly move horizontally, and that guarantees you never take damage from these initial blurbs of lava. And then in the second phase is where the difficulty or the RNG can really come in for the speedrun itself. So we'll see that. So the boss is going to scream. Oh, bad RNG. Okay. Yeah, still bad RNG. Oh, okay. Oh no. You got the worst possible RNG. Now the scary face. Oh dear goodness. Okay, I believe in you. So here, bullet hell. Oh man, wow, that was incredible. Well done. That is amazing.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yes. All right. Yep. Oh, you skipped dialogue too soon. Okay. So now just quit to menu and reload the save. So yeah, if you accidentally skipped dialogue there, or did you skip that? I don't know.
I didn't, but...
Okay.
It is what it is.
Is what it is, yeah. So coming over here, we're going to come into the final boss fight itself, which is, I think we call this one Virus. And this is going to be the scariest boss fight for probably newer runners, as well as people who play this game as a normal playthrough, don't speedrun it. But this first phase, you can just sort of absolutely script out what you want to do. So here, yeah, nice keeping your distance. Just make sure not to take damage. Okay, yep, good. Just landing some hits here and there where you can. Yeah, and so that's a scary part of the boss, when it does that like downward right, downward left attack. Okay, yeah, and just constantly attack the boss here. So here, Mr. Morris is setting up in a really specific position in order to dodge the initial attack, and then they are trying to pogo as much as possible in order to bring it into the third phase. Yeah, keep attacking, keep attacking.
Oh, no.
Okay, this is going to be tough. So now, we can deal damage to the boss during the transitions between the phases. And so there, Mr. Morse was just a little bit slow on the uptake of when the boss was heading into the final phase, and sort of like backed off, expecting another attack from the boss. And that's okay. That's okay. That is very difficult to sort of deal with, especially. Cool. Yep. Good.
Ooh.
Wow, 3 downrights in a row.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right.
Ooh, it's going
Nice
down
dodge
a
there.
lot today. Or, well, this fight, I meant to say.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Ooh, nice cross there. That was
Nice.
very, very good. Yeah, attack. The moment you see the armor crack, you can just start attacking it. So missed a number of attacks on the start, so this is going to be a little bit of a longer second phase. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, it's good. Just backing off. Waiting for a pattern that you're ready to deal with. Oh, and just barely too far to the right.
No.
What's going on?
But you got
there?
this. You got it. You got this.
Yeah, I believe.
I believe.
This is one really nice thing, though, for the speedrun is, like, especially learning-wise, when you go into your initial attempt, is that, like, the save point is right next to the final boss. So even though it's very easy to take damage and take a death to this boss, then it's like, it's no problem because you can basically retry without too much time loss. Whereas some of the other sort of unintentional deaths will lose you minutes, like many minutes of movement and what have you. Okay. Great, so we're close to phase 2. Yeah, there it is. Attack. There, Mr. Morse building height with the pogos. And then just being able to dodge that. Wow, gets another one of those patterns. Third phase. Okay, keep attacking. Okay, so depending on how many crits here, time.
Let's go.
Very nice. Let's go. Time is not done yet.
Yeah.
But well done. Well played. That was amazing. Well
You
done, man.
did such a great job.
Congratulations. That is amazing. Okay, get ready on time. I can't remember if that's time or not.
Time.
So sorry.
Time. We'll
Yeah,
just say
call it
time.
Just
That's
say
time.
time.
Time and time and again.
Time.
No,
36
time.
in
More
game.
time. Yeah. Well, so you got a PB.
Yep.
you
My
got
previous
a
was
PB.
42.
GG.
Yeah, it was. You
I mean,
did
I don't
so
know
well.
exactly how accurate this timer is, but still.
That is so cool. I
Wow.
have to say that you did an amazing job showcasing it. Because, okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, you would be, you're 36? You would be, you're
I
on
don't
the
know how
leaderboard.
accurate this time is, but still.
So our RTA is probably the time that we would
Yeah,
have to use.
yeah, you
for
would have to
IGT.
use for this one. Yeah.
Yeah. IGT is faster than time without loads, and time without loads is faster than RTA.
Yes. But honestly, that's really great. Like you can submit this
So
on the leaderboard.
what was the final time then? Do we have it or not?
Loading the stream. I have the stream.
3641. 3641. But
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, but the thing is, I would say like there's a few seconds there that we're saying time. So I would say
Yeah.
you have a few seconds. But
I
3641.
Yeah, 36 is good.
Yes.
Cool.
You
Damn,
did
I
great.
didn't. That wasn't too bad. If I wouldn't have died and had to redo the whole incinerator area again, it could have been better.
Yeah,
But still,
totally.
cool stuff.
No, you did great. No, you did an amazing job. I am so thankful that you did this with us and appreciate everything. I would love to say, okay, so if anybody has, wants to know where to buy the game, I know it's available on Steam and Switch, but, if they have any further questions or where's the best place to follow you, where would you want them to? Would you want them to do it on Discord or anything like that?
I'm pretty active everywhere. So like Twitter, Instagram, Discord as well. So you can just find me wherever, I guess. Normally, if you just search Haiku the Robot, you can find the relevant stuff, like relevant accounts.
Awesome. And then Covert, if anyone has any questions about coaching tips and tricks and tech, where would they be able to find you?
I mean, the best place to go is honestly the speedrun Discord for Haiku, which is the same as the like game Discord, where people who don't speedrun also hang out and like talk about the game and share their experiences and share their favorite moments and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of it, right? Like this was any percent, which was a very, very small portion of this game. I will let you know that. And so if you go to speedrun.com/haiku, and then look for that little Discord icon underneath where it says follow. I don't know why they made that icon so small. Is a link to the official Haiku Discord, and that's where all of the speedrunners are as well. And everybody is incredibly familiar, like especially major shoutouts to a few in particular, like Quacksilver, Staxis, who has the current world record, as well as people like Spring Sylvie, who is a friend of mine who I ended up picking up the game. And then Jarlik as well, who's incredibly active and like super, super friendly, and like made amazing tools for speedrunners who are looking to get into the speedrun. But that being said, if you're interested in finding out my content, I stream at twitch.tv/covert_muffin. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next. This was honestly something I was prepping a lot for in the past couple of weeks. But besides that, yeah, just continue to watch GDQ Hotfix. I love these shows. Rue, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, Rue's a friend of mine outside of this, but I also love your show a lot. You're an amazing show host.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to say thank you as well for like being patient with me, teaching me the route and all that sort of stuff over the last few months,
Of course.
let's say.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, no, you were amazing. It was great. It was awesome working with you. You are
The student is only as good
as
as the teacher.
And honestly, thank you for making this game. Like, I don't get to say this in many voice calls with devs, but I really appreciate this game. I love it so much. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Really.
Thanks.
Oh, well, thank you both. I'm actually tearing up. Thank you both for being amazing people and friends of mine. And I very, very honored to have this be shown on the Hotfix GDQ. Definitely love seeing it on the main stage of GDQ for, like, for example, the AGDQ for 2023. It was beautiful to watch Quack. And honestly, like, the whole thing is just like chef's kiss. So I would just want to have everyone a wonderful night. We are going to be done with the show, but we do have the Unapologetically event going up this whole entire weekend. So definitely check that out. I need to get the start time. I was trying to look for it, but if we want to see the schedule, here you go. I'm just going to put it in chat. But definitely going to be very, very fun. So check out the Unapologetically Black and Fast, and it is going to be a great speedrunning series throughout the whole entire weekend. So schedules in chat. So if you want to see where it starts and what games are going to be played and who's going to be running it, it'll be fun. Alrighty, everybody. You all stay GD cuties in my heart. You're all wonderful. Have a wonderful day or night or morning. You all take care. Bye now.